This is the Beatles' Day Tripper, one of my favorite Beatles songs, actually, up there with A Day in the Life as well. I figured that'd be a good opening musical number for this episode of Dylan Knows, episode 279, Worst Week, which originally was going to be called Chickenpox Play Date, but then I started realizing that one of the stories I will be covering Chickenpox Playdate, which is, by the way, a great band name. But also, I was thinking about one of the big stories I was going to talk to you a lot about is how a lot of people were stating that January 20th. There we go. Sorry for the freezing there. I don't know why it's freezing. I guess they know that the polar vortex is coming, so that's why it froze on me. Or it could be the fact that I have left this laptop unplugged, but I hadn't have it on, so I don't know why I have no power. So it's plugged in right now, so we should be okay getting the power, obviously, unless we have a power failure. But this week is considered to be, well, actually, the 21st of January was considered to be the worst day of the year. That was announced today or earlier this week or last week, whatever, but they mentioned it. So I started thinking about it. I was like, well, let's think about it. Maybe this is the worst week of the year. And then when I started doing my research this morning, I realized this could be one of the biggest episodes of Dylan Knows because I have 3.5 pages of stories that I'm going to cover for you all. Hair in my mouth. That I'm going to cover for you all today, which normally I have about maybe 3, maybe 2.5 if I'm lucky. So some weeks, you're going to get a lot of interesting stories, like this week, obviously, or last week, or there are going to be other weeks where it's like going to be like pulling teeth. That's why my shows have varied between 2.5 hours to like an hour. So hopefully this one's going to fit around the 2.5 hour mark, probably. I don't think I'll get to 3 hours on this because I don't know if I can cover for 3 hours or have my one viewer who's hanging around for 3 hours. So we'll see, but let's find out for sure, which is kind of interesting because there was a podcast sort of similar to what I'm doing now that I've been following lately about Twin Peaks, and the dude talks for like 5 hours. And if you look at the bottom of how long every video is, it's like 5 hours, 4 hours and 45 minutes. It's like, I don't know if I could actually sit through something like that. So my job is to try to keep it under 2 hours, but I know there's going to be situations where it's going to go over it like today. Now, first, one of the reasons why this is the worst week, above me, just found out that light bulb is now burned out. My halogen lamp is upstairs in my son's room because his fan light has been burned out since the summer. Ceiling fan light, so we got to get an electrician here to fix that. I can fix that. But the problem is I can't fix that right now because behind me is our messy basement, and it's driving Dawn absolutely crazy, and she wants to clean up the place, and I do too, but I can't actually get a ladder or chair or anything up there to try to get that because there's literally nothing but junk behind me. I think I've slipped out getting I was like saying we got to get the Christmas stuff down this week. I think I've worked it so that it's still going to be up this week because I don't really feel like doing it now this week. Next week is going to be interesting. Next weekend is Groundhog Day on Saturday, and it's also, well, technically my sister-in-law's 40th birthday is going to be this week coming up, the 31st, I think, 30th, 31st, somewhere around there. It's going to be her actual 40th birthday, and for her 40th birthday, she wants to do one of these simulated skydive things that we have here in Baltimore. I don't know if you have it where else you are. It's in a giant tube thing, and there's a giant fan on the floor, and there's lots of safety and stuff like that, but the giant fan kicks up and you can float in the air for however long. And it's not like you're flying from thousands of feet up in the air. You're like at most maybe 8 to 10 feet off the ground, which is really not too bad. And it's all cushion and stuff like that. And they're professionals and they do it all the time. So we're not worried about it. She also likes Jane Austen stuff. So they're going to have like a surprise Jane Austen sort of tea before this event. So we're going to do that. Then Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. I might look into maybe getting MJ Khan on here next weekend for our Man Day show, our annual Man Day show. We didn't do it last year for some reason. I forget why we didn't do it last year. Oh, it's because I was going to a hockey game for my brother-in-law's 40th birthday last year. Her husband turned 40 last year. She's turning 40 this year. We went to a Washington Capitals game on Super Bowl Sunday, then went back to their house and watched the Super Bowl. I don't really have any vested interest in the Super Bowl this year, which is odd. I really am no desire to watch it. I will because I'm a glutton for punishment. But we're not going to do our friend's house that we usually do for Super Bowl parties, mostly because the last time we went 2 years ago, they have a daughter who's around Noelle's age, and they weren't like always close, but when they were younger, they used to play a lot together. 2 years ago, the girl ignored Noelle the whole night and played with her other friends, which again is understandable. I get it, but I don't want to put my daughter through that again. Who's bored out of her mind, who doesn't really like football that much. I mean, she watched it with daddy because it's something to do with daddy, but she's not really that interested in it. So we're going to probably just pass on the party this year and maybe have our own one, and we'll see what happens. But I went on a little tangent there, sorry. So let's see what's going to talk about. As I said, 3.5 pages worth of stuff. I've got some studies. I've got some animal sex. I've got chicken pox play date. I've got a interesting bunch of different types of foods, stuff that's coming out, different types of Valentine's Day things coming up. I've got a ton of things. New restaurants, the chocolate Whopper, a dissertation on how great the book series Hilo is, with a new episode coming out, new book coming out this week. What some kids did to help their parents during the government shutdown. Sinkholes, outer space, baseball players who passed away, baseball players got to the Hall of Fame, Super Bowl chit chat, strange headlines, strange new trends, Academy Award nominees, the ending of an era. Magic Mike is coming to Broadway, so you get to see your fill of naked men, along with the Full Monty, and a whole bunch of other Valentine's Day stuff, and animal sex, and all kinds of crazy stuff going to be crammed into 2.5 hours today. So since we got a lot to talk about, let's get right into it. So we're going to start off today with is January the worst month of the year? And I was thinking about this in the shower, and so I figured I wanted to start the episode off with this, besides my little anecdote I just did. But starting the episode itself with this, let's examine this month by month. It's January 27th. Okay. So you think, you're almost near the end of the month. Not really, because the month doesn't end until Thursday. So you still have 4 full days of January, and then February 1st is on Friday. So let's examine the month, every month of the year, step by step, to see if January is actually the worst month of the year. So we're not going to start with January. We'll start with February, and we'll work our way down to try to figure out. Well, actually, no, we'll start with January. Why not? So January is, a study came out this week that January 21st is considered to be the most depressing day of the year, because you are now a full 3 or so weeks past Christmas, and all your Christmas activities have been wrapped up, and things are progressing back to normal. Here in the northern hemisphere, it is a brutal winter in most locations. So you're going to be, you're still inside the dark winter weather type thing, with the sun still setting a little earlier. But if you've been noticing, the sun has been staying out a little bit longer every day. I noticed it that around 4:30 when I leave for work this week, I've had to put my sunglasses on, which I haven't had to do in the last few weeks. So that's a bright spot that's coming up. But then it's cold, it's snowy, the holidays are over, you have holiday depression, darkness, no real holidays to speak of. New Year's Day and Martin Luther King Day really are the only days. And then this year in particular, the government shutdown affected a lot of things as well. For football fans, that third Monday of the year, who's in the Super Bowl. So you can see that the NFL is going to be ending very soon. They take a week off. This week is the Pro Bowl, and then next week is the Super Bowl, and then football's done for games until September. Exhibitions, if you count exhibitions in August. But we'll cover that in a little bit. So I can kind of see that. It's 31 days. It's the first month of the year, of the new year, is 31 days. Which is hella long, particularly during the bleak midwinter. Um, so then let's jump to February. So now February is a little bit better because, first of all, um, the sun is still, slowly creeping up and up, so it's getting lighter and lighter out. Still not great, but it's getting better. The temperature is still chilly, and actually here in Maryland, the month of February is where we get most of our snow. That's when it's the snowiest month in Maryland's history on average is February. But here's the thing: February is only 28 days, 29 if you count leap year. So that's like, whoa, 28 days, boom, like that. Like if we were in February now, tomorrow would be the last day of February. Just think about that. Tomorrow would be the last day of February. So boom. So 28 days, 29 if you count leap year. Then you have Valentine's Day, which is, for some people is great because they have loved ones that they, can buy stuff for. I've got a really neat plan for Dawn this year. I just have to create it and utilize it and find it. I need to learn a few little details about her, which I don't want to ask her unless it's going to ruin the surprise. Also, we're going to get some stuff for the kids and, candy, and a lot of people go on first dates for Valentine's Day, which is kind of weird, I think. But a lot of places have really neat Valentine's Day things for married couples or for couples who've been together for a while. It's also a big day for proposals, wedding proposals, stuff like that. So it's a nice time. And then you have President's Day, which again is another day off for a lot of people. And then, as I said, then boom, the 28th, done. So February's done. Then you get to March. March is 31 days. But here's the thing about March. March is meteorological spring, which means, okay, we've lived through the bleak midwinter. Spring is now not going to be official till mid-March, but we're in meteorological spring. We also have the clocks get turned forward. So it'll be light out 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock now more often. You're still going to get a little bit of cold, but again, the temperature's starting to rise a little bit because, hey, it's springtime. It's starting to roll in there. You have St. Patrick's Day when you can go and drink and imbibe and have a lot of fun with that. And sometimes, depending on things, at the end of the month, you have Easter. That I hate when Easter is that early, though. But no, it's a part of what makes March great. But it's mostly the beginning of spring. Turn your clocks ahead so that it's going to be springtime. So March isn't too bad, right? Even if it is 31 days, but it's still not too bad. Then you get April. Depending on if Easter falls in March, April can be a little hard, but not too bad because of a few other reasons to think about. Because again, now you're fully ensconced in spring. The temperature's going up. It's not as freezing cold out. The chances of snow are starting to get slimmer and slimmer. Can it still happen in April? Absolutely, it can still happen in April, but they get slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. Then you have, for baseball fans, baseball starts in April for the most part. So I think they might be starting it late March now. But anyway, baseball starting. So baseball is considered a summer type sport. So it plays a couple of their parts of their season in the spring. But you have, baseball is considered a summer sport, so you get that look forward to the temperatures going up. Easter tends to fall sometime in April. This year is going to be kind of rough because it's actually late this year. It's like the 19th or something like that, which is really insane to wait that long for Easter. But Easter's still a thing. And recently, this year particularly, the final Avengers movie that wraps up Infinity War is going to happen the end of April. You're also going to get Shazam and Hellboy movies coming out in April. And in March, you have Captain Marvel, which is great. It's also my wife's birthday, so that's why I like March too. It's also my sister's birthday, my father-in-law's birthday. April's my mom's birthday. So April, as I said, it's getting warmer. It could be considered to be a rough month because not a lot's happening, but I think people will take the warm temperatures and the thawing and the flowers starting to appear and grass appearing and baseball starting over bleak midwinter, dark, snowy, chilly times. Then you get into May. May, of course, is pretty much like the gateway to summer now. Summer doesn't start till June, obviously, but May, your temperatures keep rising again. There are some days in May in this area that get into the 90s. So you're starting to get that, okay, summer feeling now. College kids are graduating college, and college kids who aren't graduating are getting out of school. So they're done their schooling for the year. So they've got a nice little breather. That happens in May. You've got Free Comic Book Day. You've got Mother's Day. You've got Memorial Day. And again, it's 31 days, but again, it's that summery feeling. You start getting the summer movies start coming out. Some movies that you've been dying to see start making appearances in May. And as I said, college kids out of school, and things start progressing. And then the pools start opening at the end of May, right around Memorial Day. Pools are open, so you can go pooling now. That brings you to June. Obviously, I'm not the biggest fan of summer because I don't like being hot. I hate being hot. And my reasoning for being hot, why I hate being hot or being cold, is that being cold, if you're cold, you can put on multiple stuff. Like I have this shirt on now because it's not too bad in the basement. But if it was a cold, like if I was doing this, in the middle of next week when the polar vortex hits, I would have a sweatshirt on and a hoodie sweatshirt on, and I'd have maybe double layer pants and double layer socks on, maybe even a hat to keep me warm, and I'd be fine because you can put more clothes on to get warmer, and you can wrap yourself up in your blankets and get nice and warm that way too. In the summer, it's different because if you don't want to break the law, you can only take off so many clothes, and so you're still wearing something even though it's hot as balls out. So even if you're just wearing boxer shorts or swim trunks or whatever, and the rest of your body is naked, it's still brutally hot. And particularly for me also, maybe because I'm a little overweight, I don't know, but I don't like the heat. And then when, yes, you might have an air conditioned house, but if you don't have a double air conditioning unit or whatever, or a strong ductwork or whatever, the cool air from the air conditioning will not make its way up to the bedroom. So it's going to be extraordinarily brutally hot and hard to sleep. And I sweat like a pig when I sleep, and it's awful. And it's really hard for me to sleep when it's really hot out. That's why I don't like summer. But I know there's a ton of people who like summer. I know you're tired of the cold weather and being freezing and shivering and stuff like that, and having your hands aching from being so cold. So now June hits, all the other kids get off of school. Summer, it's meteorological summer. Summer's officially here. Some people start their vacations early in June. My birthday's June. Hey, that's reason alone to love June. Father's Day hits. My dad's birthday, my mother-in-law's birthday is in June. Wedding anniversaries, a lot of people getting married in June is a big month for people to get married in. So June becomes kind of a nice month then too. So not too bad. July hits. You're the heat of the summer. It's starting to get really, really hot. It's light out all the time. You can stay out till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and it's still kind of light out. It's really, really hot, but you can go swimming. You're on summer vacation. You can take on your vacations. You've got the 4th of July, which is a great celebration with parades and fireworks and grilled foods and baseball and all kinds of exciting, fun stuff. Now, the second half of July starts getting a little rough after 4th of July because then there's really nothing that happens until September. But again, you're in summertime. You're on vacation time. So lots of people go on their vacation during time. So it's like, who cares if there's nothing going on? I'm on vacation. I ain't working. And if you're a kid, you're like, I'm going to the pool every day, or I'm hanging out with my friends, or I'm getting snowballs or ice cream or whatever. And that's where July comes in again. August hits again. August is one of those months that drags on. It's 31 days. I have a personal like of it because my son's birthday is August 25th, late August. But August always tends to be also the month that I go on vacation. So August, for me, while it is a long, hard month, because again, it's brutally hot, and particularly here in the East Coast, and there's like not a lot going on because there's no holidays or anything like that. I still have my son's birthday, obviously, and I have vacation to look forward to, and that's really about it in August. We used to be able to start looking forward to kids going back to school here in Baltimore. The rules were kids could go back to school, at the discretion of the educational Baltimore County, in our case, the educational Baltimore County people. Every county had their own start time for school. Baltimore County tended to do it about a week before Labor Day. So at the end of August, you get the you get our big Maryland State Fair. And then what had been happening was kids would go back to school that end of August. And so they'd be back in school. So things will start progressing. You don't have to worry about your paying for camp for your kids or doing stuff with your kids, stuff like that. They're back in school and they're learning. But the governor of Maryland a few years ago decided to decree that all schools, regardless of what county it is, have to start after Labor Day, which is BS. But I've covered that in many episodes of the show, and I'm not going to rehash it again. We also have the beginning of football for fans of football again. Training camp has been going on since July, but you're starting to get exhibition games, which aren't a lot of fun. But hey, you're getting to see football again, and you're getting excited for your teams, and you're getting fantasy football ready and stuff like that. And then September hits. Again, people can make a case that September is a depressing time also because kids are back at school. You just have Labor Day, really. It's also, in my opinion, is the beginning of my favorite season, which is fall. It's a meteorological fall hits September 1st, with actual fall being September 23rd. So the temperature is going to start dropping, which I absolutely love. The trees are going to start changing color. Football is back for real. Teams are starting their seasons off. They play their first 4 games in September, so everyone is excited about football and seeing what their team's going to do. The kickoff for Halloween is slowly starting to start. More Halloween things are popping up in stores. More places are doing pumpkin patches and haunted hay rides and stuff like that. So September's kind of that sort of not really much going on. Labor Day happens, and it's still warm. And it's also still it started to get cooler also, but it's still fairly warm from the summer, but it's not as warm as like in August or July. And then you get to near the end of September, and we have a parade. We have a Reisterstown Festival in mid-September, which is great. So we have that. And then you get to the end of September, and then it's all bore for October. October is all about the fall, all about Halloween. October is by far my favorite month. Temperatures are dropping. Halloween stuff is everywhere. People decorating their houses. Scary stuff's on TV. Halloween candies out there. People looking for costumes to wear. But that's not the only thing. The leaves are changing color. And if you've had a good summer and not too wet, not too cool, not too hot, that type of thing, the colors here on the Eastern Seaboard pop like crazy. Maybe not as well as up in Maine and Vermont and all that, but we still get, if we have a good weather pattern during the summer, we can get some brutally brilliant and insanely gorgeous leaves, colors, oranges and yellows just everywhere. And driving along the highway right behind me, 795, surrounded by these trees and seeing the colors right there, it's a whole big event. So October is a big month for me. I love October. Then November hits. Now, Halloween's done at the end of October. So in a lot of cases, I don't like this because I think it's crazy, but November is the kickoff to Christmas. A lot of people don't like November because, again, it's 31 days. No, it's 30 days. I'm sorry. November has 30 days. But it's starts getting a lot colder. Now, October is a nice fall month, but November starts to get kind of the starkness coming back into it. The leaves have all started to fall now, so the trees are much more barren. The colors which have been so brilliant in September and October, are now starting to dull and die because the temperature is getting colder. At night, it gets really, really chilly, and in the morning, and then during the day, it's kind of warm, so you get kind of that little mixture of things. So you have to, when you wake up, you have to put on like your heavy coat, but when you leave work that day, you got to take that coat off and maybe put on a light jacket or just walk around without the coat on. But I like to build up to Thanksgiving because I like Thanksgiving, and I did a whole episode about why I like Thanksgiving, but the main reason I like Thanksgiving is a 4-day weekend for me, and I look forward to that. But it's also, as I said, the build up for Christmas. Christmas starts getting mentioned more and more. You start seeing more Christmas ads. You start seeing more Christmas stuff in stores and stuff like that. A lot of people even start decorating their houses early for Christmas. Myself, as I said, I wait till Black Friday, and then Christmas is all full bore on that. So you've got that going on. So November, I can see maybe why some people might find that as a depressing month, because it is kind of stark and dark, and time change happens then. So it's going to start getting dark again during the day. So you start getting into that depressive mode again. But here's the thing. it might be getting dark and it might be cold and stuff like that, but you've got the looking forward to the gloriousness that is Christmas in December. December hits, Christmas is all the rage, the lighting, and not just Christmas. I mean, it's Christmas. Let's face facts, takes over the brunt of the stuff. Hanukkah and solstice and Kwanzaa and all that are all in there as well, but Christmas is the one that takes over that month. And houses decorate for Christmas, and you drive around and see all the different houses, and everyone's excited for Christmas. They see Santa Claus, they're shopping, they're doing stuff, they're getting ready for the holidays and having a big time, and then school ends, right before, right in mid-December, and then you get a couple weeks off for Christmas break before you have to start over again. So December, and then after Christmas, you have that period where if you have multiple families, your Christmas can last for about a week, and then you got New Year's Eve, which everybody also loves also. And that brings us back to January. So December is not a bad month, though it is cold and chilly and potentially snowy, stuff like that. But Christmas and goodwill towards men and stuff like that all permeates at that point. And so that's my month by month breakdown. So I think, in retrospect, with January being the beginning of the year, not a lot going on, the holidays are over, you're looking at a cold, bleak winter. I can understand maybe why January is so disliked. And I can understand why it could be considered a depressing time of the year, particularly this year, obviously, with the shutdown, which did end this week. But don't get too excited, because he said it's only going to last for 3 weeks and he's going to shut it down again. He just wanted to deflect from the Stone conviction. He wanted to get people to be excited about Valentine's Day and the Super Bowl, because hey, we're going to want to spend money on our Super Bowl parties and on our loved ones. And so the next shutdown is going to be set for February 15th. I guarantee you, February 15th, he's shutting it down again, unless they can come with some deal, which I don't think is going to happen. So I know I'm being pessimistic, but the way this world is right now, it's not really pessimistic. It's probably what's going to happen. So I can understand why it's depression. Now, is there a way we can make January less depressing? Well, it's hard. But what's interesting is that there's a lot of birthdays in January in my family. A lot. There's like this whole week starting last like on Friday, going all the way through to the end of the month. There's like someone in my family, my nephew, my cousin-in-law, my cousin-in-law's wife. Well, I guess technically could be my cousin-in-law too. My brother-in-law, my sister-in-law. They all have birthdays in January. My crush in high school, her birthday's in January. I still remember that because I'm a loser. I remember it mainly because of another reason why a lot of people might be depressed about January, which was something I was going to talk about in my show also, is tomorrow is January 28th. Back in 1986, one of the absolute worst events in history happened. When the space shuttle Challenger, with the first civilian to go into outer space, was a school teacher, Krista McAuliffe, who won a nationwide search and trained with the astronauts for weeks, and was going to be the first teacher in space, was going to do a couple of classes from space that were going to be beamed down to classrooms in all over the world. Liftoff of the aircraft started off okay, but then all of a sudden a massive explosion engulfed the space shuttle Challenger, and all on board were killed. That was 86. So that was 86, 96, 2006, 2016. That was 33 years ago tomorrow. I remember that day more than anything for a couple of reasons. One, as I said, is my crush's in high school's birthday, but that's besides the point. I was in middle school when it happened, and I remember that some of the classes were going to be airing the launch live because, hey, it's a school teacher going to outer space. Hey, it's something cool to watch, in classes. I happened to be at lunch during that time, but there were some classes that were watching it when it was going on. So I was in lunch, and somebody came out to us, me and my friends, and said, "Hey, did you hear the space shuttle exploded?" I was like, "No, it didn't." So we were cracking jokes, and we didn't believe him, and we were saying, "Yeah, if that happened, it wouldn't be, so on and so forth. There'd be a lot. No, that would never happen. That type of thing doesn't happen anymore. Blah 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 like that. And then after lunch, we found out when we went to our next class. Yeah, it actually did happen. And I don't remember if I don't think we got sent home early. I don't think we did. But I just remember that when I left school, my middle school was a little bit of, not a long walk from my house. It was, it was over in Rogers Forge, which is a neighborhood across the street from where I grew up, which is where Michael Phelps, the Olympian, was born and raised. So I had to walk from the school down this one road, across York Road, which is the main road, and then walk about two to three blocks down to my road, and then my road was there. So it really wasn't that long walk. So I walked home. And the first thing I did once I got inside was I turned on the TV and watched the news coverage of the Challenger disaster, as they end up calling it. Now, this event, along with the crash that happened in 2001, 2002, I think it was 2002, actually. Because I remember I was at my apartment with Dawn. And we hadn't gotten married yet, and we didn't have kids yet. So it has to be 2002. Those two events is what caused the space program to go backwards, because if those two events wouldn't have happened, if the space shuttles were kept going and were kept being fine, and things were progressing as normal, and things were all good and everything like that, I really think by this time we would probably have maybe people on Mars, maybe a small landing area on the moon. Because I think if you don't stop your program for 2 to 3 years in '86, and again 2 to 3 years in 2002, that's basically 4 to 6 years where you could have continued working on building new products, because you weren't trying to figure out what went wrong. Instead, you would continue to move on to the next level to figure out how to do all this stuff. Do I know this for a fact? Of course I don't. But that's another reason why maybe January can be considered a rough month. Now, is there a way to correct it? To not people think about that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can't just create a holiday for people to enjoy in January for no other reason than, hey, we need to create a holiday to make people more happy. And again, not every location is going to be suffering from cold temperatures. Florida and Texas and all the southern states, they and out west, California, Washington, they don't really have a lot of major issues when it comes to weather around this time of the year anyway. Though things might be changing due to climate change or whatever you believe in that aspect. So I really can't think of anything. I mean, I guess you just gotta, keep grinding, keep going. Maybe keep your Christmas stuff up, like I still have upstairs, which I'm not going to do this. Earlier this week, I said we're going to take that stuff down this weekend, and everyone's like, yeah, we are. And then guess what? It's now 12:49 p.m. on Sunday, and it hasn't even been touched yet. And that's for a couple other reasons why. As you know, I'm a Pokemon Go player. My wife, Dawn, is a much huger Pokemon Go player. And they seem to every weekend like to create some new event that gets the Pokemon Go players excited about the game again, because they tend to be they tend to be losing a lot of people, and they lose money and revenue that way. Dawn and I are here for the long haul. I mean, Dawn loves Pokemon Go more than me, probably. In fact, she's where she is right now. Kids have already had lunch. She's like, I'm out of here. She's going to do some raids and try to find shiny Psyduck. Now, Psyduck is one of my favorite characters. He's from the Generation 1, and he's a two-legged duck who makes a noise like wow wow, and when he falls asleep or gets scared or something like that, he has psychic abilities. But the funny thing is, he's not classified as a psychic Pokemon. He's classified as a water Pokemon. He's a duck, obviously, but it's wow wow, stuff like that. But there's an ongoing joke that Dawn and I've had a couple years ago when we went down to the Inner Harbor for celebrate her birthday weekend, and we stayed at a fancy hotel, went to see a show, stuff like that. The kids were with my in-laws, and so the two of us, what we did for fun was, after the show and after we checked in, we walked out amongst the Inner Harbor and did Pokemon Go hunting, because the Inner Harbor is a really good bastion for Pokemon to spawn. So we were going out there, and because the harbor is right by water, you're going to get more water type spawning. Magikarps, Slowpoke, stuff like that. Those are all Pokemon that are water types. And Psyduck is one that always pops up as well. So he was everywhere. But the funny thing is, the map that we have on Pokemon Go just maps out, generalities. So here's piers, and here's, where you're walking, and then here's all this water. But because of the way the GPS works, sometimes you're walking on the water and then you run back and stuff like that. And then there's no, since it's in a computer game, they don't care where these creatures spawn. So they might spawn in the middle of the harbor, but they're not literally in the middle of the harbor. It's just from your viewpoint, and you can still catch them. You click on them, you still catch them that way. But Psyduck just was all over the place, and he always appeared like he was going to be committing suicide by jumping into the water, because he always has his hands on his head when he spawns, and he was always like on the tip of piers and stuff like that, like he's getting ready to jump in the water. So I made him my buddy, and so the kids, for Father's Day or for my birthday that year, once I told them how Psyduck's my boy, and I caught every single one that I saw during that trip, they bought me a stuffed Psyduck, which is up there on my bedside table upstairs. So this weekend is what we call a safari zone, which is someplace never happens in America. It's always foreign countries where they get a safari zone, which is they open up an area, park usually, or something like that, and then they just spawn Pokemon that never usually appear in that area, and people pay money to go in and get special deals, stuff like that. Well, one of the ones they were doing is Psyduck, and he has a shiny. Now, shinies, for those who haven't been watching the show, shinies are the same Pokemon. They have no special powers, no special CP, whatever. They're just a different color. And it's just a way to make the game more interesting. So you can catch a million Psyducks that all look the same, yellow with bills and stuff like that. But every once in a while, if you can get a shiny, it's all blue. And that's always a fun thing to try to catch some of those. And then when you evolve it, it'll be a shiny of evolution as well. So shiny Psyduck is out this weekend, and Dawn is obsessed with getting all the shinies. And when we have events like this, we very rarely get any of the shinies. There's an event going on now through Tuesday where the second generation of Pokemon is like spawning like crazy, so you can catch as many as you want. And there's a couple of shinies on that one as well. Or is it the third gen? It's one of those two, second or third gens. So that's what's going on with that. So that's, one of the reasons why we were out yesterday. So we spent about 3 hours just walking around Reisterstown, just me and Dawn, because the kids are into it a little bit, but not as much as they used to be. So Dawn and I just walked around our neighborhood for about 3 hours and tried to catch as many shiny Psyducks that we could, and we caught 0. So that could have been used to clean up Christmas, stuff like that. But no, she wanted to do shiny Psyducks, so I was like, that's fine. And then here we are now, as I said, almost 1 o'clock, and she's out probably going to Hunt Valley to do some raiding and see if there's any shiny Psyducks at Hunt Valley, which is a bigger area where more spawns happen. And the kids, again, are home by themselves because they don't want to go. So it's kind of funny. Also, speaking of Pokemon, I figure I may as well just connect it to. Community Day for February has been mentioned. It is going to be Piloswine. Oh, not Piloswine. It's going to be Swinub, which is a ice type. And he has a evolution that's Piloswine. And then there's a new one called Mamoswine, which is something that's in this Gen 4 that they're working through right now on Pokemon Go. But you can only get it by getting Sinnoh Stones. I'm going to go a little rant real quick on my geek nerd Pokemon stuff. So my second viewer, please don't leave. I'll get to more of the great stuff in a second. So in order to get Mamoswine, you're going to need to get these Sinnoh Stones, which now the only ways you can get them right now are through battles with trainers or other Pokemon Go players. And you can only do 1 battle with the trainers to get stuff, and then 3 battles with somebody else to try to get stuff. But they don't want to just give you Sinnoh Stones. So a lot of times the stuff that you get for those battles is just Stardust and other stuff that's not Sinnoh Stones. Occasionally you might luck out. I lucked out. I got 3 Sinnoh Stones at one time last week, and that's probably all I'm going to get until this event starts in mid-February. Because you can only get Mamoswine by getting a Sinnoh Stone. When they first introduced it, they were going to say if you do your 7 research tasks for the week, you would get one then. But they said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And then some people thought, okay, if you spun the wheel, you get one. No, they're not going to do that either. So now it's very hard and very rare to get one of these. And that kind of pisses me off because there are so many other Gen 4 Pokemon that I want to get that I can only get if I have a Sinnoh Stone. And the main goal of Pokemon Go is to fill your Pokédex. kids are tromping up and down the stairs. So in order to fill your Pokédex, you need to get all these Pokemon. And one of them is, you got to get these ones that you have to use Sinnoh for. And so if they're so rare, it's kind of annoying that they do this. So I'm kind of pissed about that. So the rant's over. I'm going to talk about other stuff because I don't want to lose anybody else. And we got a lot of stuff to cover because I've been talking now for about 40 minutes, whatever, and I barely touched the surface. So we're just going to blow through a lot of this real quick. So try to keep up. I'm going to try to keep them connected, but I'm just going to straight going down the rows and stuff like that. First up, we have a sinkhole opened up a block from the White House, which a lot of people are making jokes about, that the devil is wanting the evil government people to come back to hell with them. Another sinkhole opened up near the He Who Shall Not Be Named hotel location. And I just lost my other viewer. He doesn't want to hear politics. Sorry, man. So that's the big joke about all that. So I'm not going to cover that anymore. Done. I just wanted to throw that out there. It was kind of an interesting story. I found this story today. And this, speaking of the worst week, which is the name of this episode, this guy probably has the worst luck. He's an Australian. And about 5 months ago, a story came out, and I don't know, I might have mentioned it on the show. I don't remember. It's very possible I could have. It would be like a type of thing I would talk about on the show. But this guy in Australia 5 months ago was sitting at a porta potty. I guess they have a lot of porta johns in Sydney, Australia. And as he was sitting, he felt searing pain in his penis. Now, originally you think, okay, maybe he has some sort of disease or STD or something like that. No. He was bit by a spider on his penis while going to the bathroom. Yes. Okay, I don't know where the poster board is. Do you know where it is? Okay, you're just looking down here. It's around here somewhere. I don't know. Okay, I'll try to ignore you. I can't think of my son. Anyway, so he gets bitten. Wait a second, hold on. Oh, here you go. Here's your poster board. Yep. Is your mommy here? What is she doing? Okay. Is Noelle going to help you, or? Noelle's going to help me, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, no. Good luck. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. So that's my son. He's got a school project he has to make a movie poster for a book he read, so he's going to do that right now. Hopefully it'll be okay. That's a big poster board, but hey, whatever. Anyway, so he's just sitting on the bathroom, going about his business, and he gets bit by a spider. So he gets taken to the hospital, and they have to give him drugs, and he survives. He's okay. I was like, okay. I'm getting leery of sitting in porta-john. So I think for 5 months, he refused to go to the bathroom in a porta-john or outdoor or one of these restrooms you see just scattered around cities and stuff like that, which everybody can use. So this week, he was at a different porta potty in Sydney, and he literally had just seen somebody go in there and clean it, and it was pristine, and he'd probably been the first person to go use it after its cleaning. So I was like, okay, I need to go to the bathroom. I was going to wait to hold it, or I was going to go to a restaurant or something like that. But I'll try this again. You know where this is going. So he goes to this porta-john, a different one in a different part of Sydney, completely clean, just not 5 minutes ago. Sits down, does his business, sharp pain in the penis. Again. He looks down, again, spider has bitten him on the penis. Again. And he said, in almost the exact same location. So again, to the hospital. So I think that's sworn that guy off of working in porta potties from now on. And I just lost my other viewer, probably because it's 1 o'clock. And they're like, okay, I'll hang out here for an hour and then I'm done. So that's just bad luck, man. And he's talking about having the worst week. That's the worst week for him. Worst 5 months of his life. A few weeks ago, Stan Lee passed away. And talk show host Bill Maher went on a rant about how comic books are for kids. I went on a rant on my show a while back to talk about what a complete tool and what a complete idiot he is for saying that stuff, and then moved on. Well, for some reason, I guess after the Academy Award nominations announcements, which I'll get to in a little bit, he doubled down on it on his show this week about how comic books are for kids, and anyone who reads comic books is illiterate and so on and so forth. It's not real literature, blah, blah, blah. And then he went after Kevin Smith, who last week I talked about as being the unofficial cheerleader for comic books. And it's like, okay, that's cool and all that, but we don't really need an unofficial cheerleader. You don't need to ask his opinion on everything. And whatever he says, us geeks are like, oh, if Kevin Smith says it's great, it's going to be great. No, I went on and ran about that. As I said, I have no problem with Kevin Smith. I have no problem. As I said, I've talked to him when I worked at Diamond. He owns his comic book store, and he placed an order with me once. So it's cool, and I'm fine with that. But he just went down and said, Bill Maher is, comic books are kids again, and it's dumb, useless, illiterate, not literature, and it's dumb that it's so popular. And he went after Kevin Smith being the big fan, and Kevin just, as Kevin does, he just let it roll off. It's like, yeah, whatever. I've talked to him on his show a bunch of times. He says this type of stuff all the time. I just ignore him. I don't care. So it didn't really affect him, and it really doesn't affect me anymore because, again, it's one person's opinion. You have your opinion, but I hate this opinion. I hate the opinion that people think that comic books are not a good reading, something good for reading, because there is more to comics than just the pretty pictures. It's not grown-up picture books, as a lot of people have called them before. You have to actually read the scripts and the word balloons and stuff like that to try to understand what's going on in the story, and you're going to have to know how to do this. This is how I figured out the difference between punny and puny, because I used to read Spider-Man all the time, and they used to call him Puny Parker, and I always thought it was Punny Parker until I mentioned it once. I think my dad said, no, it's Puny Parker, and detailed me about that. My dad gave me his comic book collection to help me learn to read, and I did. I read my comics, and I learned to read reading comics. Trade paperbacks are a big deal now that collect comic books. If you don't want to buy the floppies, you can buy trade paperbacks that collect 6 to 12 issues, depending on what style you have. There's all different types of books you get. You get the trades, which usually collect about 6 issues. You can get like I forget what they call it, like the collections, which usually do 12 issues in a book. You can do the omnibuses, which can do upwards between 25 and 50 issues in a book and stuff like that. So there's lots of different ways. And then there's the graphic novels, which are one-off, one-shots, which are stories that just happen to be drawn. But they are really good stories. A good example was, what is that called? Dang it, I can't think of it right now. It'll come to me eventually. But there's a whole bunch of these graphic novels out there that are one-off stories that have nothing to do with comic books. I mean, with superheroes. Comic books are not just for kids and are not just superheroes banging each other and smashing each other and wearing colorful uniforms and having crazy powers. Read Sandman, for God's sakes. Read V for Vendetta. Read, I'm trying to think of some other really crazy ones. There's a whole slew of independent books out there now. Saga, Walking Dead, which isn't a superhero one. It's a zombie horror comic. There's a ton of different comic books out there that you can read. And it is not for children. They cover mature storylines, adult situations, and it's embarrassing that a talk show host doesn't do research and doesn't realize there's more to comic books than just superheroes banging each other. There's a whole hell of a lot more about it. And you want to know what the fastest growing genre of books is for kids? Is the graphic novel. And I'm just going to bring that up also as a good connective thread here. There is a series of books written and drawn by Judd Winnick. Now, for those who remember the 1990s and MTV in the 1990s, they created a little show called The Real World, and I watched it. I was the right person to, I was the right what do you call it, age group to be watching this, demographic to be watching it. So I watched the first season, which was at the time something I'd never done before, where you got a group of strangers together to live in a apartment that was fully furnished by MTV for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year, whatever it took. And every action was filmed with hidden cameras and confessionals and stuff like that. And every character, real world character, had its own story arc. And these were real people that auditioned and wanted their story to be told on TV. So it followed these people, and MTV edited thousands of hours of video to create storylines and stuff like that to to make it a show. And it became so successful that they've spun it off 20, 30 times or whatever. So I watched only about the first maybe 4 seasons, and then after the London one, which there was no interesting stories, and the people were awful, and it was just there was just so much more that it could have been. I just said, I'm done. The second season was in Los Angeles. That was okay. That was considered to be one of the more crazy ones, because there were so many people getting kicked out because of different things. And then the third season was San Francisco, which had the story of Buck, I guess. Pucky, I'm sorry. Puck, P-U-C-K, which became the onus of the story, which I hated because I hated the character. And I wanted to learn more about the other people in the house. But because he was such an outrageous character, stuff like that, he eventually got kicked out. But he was one of the only ones that they started to follow him after he got kicked out to see what he would do. But the reason I'm bringing all this up is because in that third season of The Real World in San Francisco, there was a young cartoonist by the name of Judd Winnick who had gone out to San Francisco to try to sell a cartoon strip to a newspaper. And I think he got accepted. So we followed his travails as he did his comic strip, and how he made the comic strip, and how he sold it to, stuff like that. But he also showed an interest in a couple of the women in the house. One of them, who he keeps claiming, and to be honest, I really didn't see any attraction between the two of them at the time of the show. But one of them was Pam Ling, was a Asian woman who was also in the show as well, and they became friends. And I think Rachel was the other one that he was really crushing on, I think, also. They all became friends. But then it was also, that was the season where they had Pedro, who had AIDS, and he ended up dying of AIDS. And Judd Winnick, eventually, once he became more popular in the graphic novel world, he wrote a graphic novel about Pedro's life called Pedro and Me, which is still considered one of the best pieces of graphic novel, literature out there, and was considered, I think, for a Pulitzer or something like that, or Nobel Prize or something like that for literature. But he ended up, after the show was over and things settled down, stuff like that, he ended up dating and marrying Pam Ling from The Real World, who we met on The Real World. And they now are still married. They have 3 kids, I think, and they're still happily married, stuff like that. Now, after that show, Judd's cartoon strip was fairly popular, and then he was able to break into independent comics. And I think it was Barry Weem was the character he created for the Independence comics, and that sold really, really well for a lot of people. So then Marvel and DC started calling, and actually it was really, no, he did both. So he ended up working for both Marvel and DC. He had long runs on Green Arrow, which was pretty good, Green Lantern, which was really, really good, Batman, which wasn't so good. He got in trouble for, when the New 52 started, he wrote Catwoman as an overly sexualized character, but that was the role that DC said, you're going to have to make this character be this way, and a lot of people did not like that. He also created one of my favorite Marvel comics of all time, The Exiles, and wrote that for a long time as well. And he probably did some other stuff for Marvel. I can't remember what else he might have done. But he's had a pretty steady career in Marvel and DC. And then eventually he decided he wanted to do his own thing. And he created a children's series of graphic novels called Hilo. And it's about a robot boy who crashes down to Earth and meets a young boy by the name of DJ, who says to himself, has low self-esteem because everyone in his family is good at something, but he's not good at anything. But he befriends Hilo and tries to help Hilo save the universe. There are 4 books out of the Hilo series, and I think my daughter got it out of the library a couple of years ago when she was still in elementary school, and she loved it. And I had heard about it because I follow Judd's stuff like that, because I like some of his stuff. I still follow him on Twitter and Facebook, stuff like that, and heard him talking about it. But I never read it. So I sat down, I actually read it, and I really enjoyed it as well. So I figured this might be something that my son Noah would like. So I went out, because it was a library book at school. She'd return the next week. So I actually went out to Barnes & Noble or Amazon or whatever, and I bought all the books that were out. I think at that time, maybe there's only 3 at that time. And so I got them all, and I gave them to Noah to read, and he absolutely loved it. Noelle wanted to read them also, so she read all of them again. I read all of them. Dawn read all of them. We all love them. We ended up getting the 4th book that just came out last year, at this time last year. Got that, read that, and loved that. And then we had to wait a full year for book 5, which comes out on Tuesday. Now, I haven't told the kids this, but I ordered on Amazon, and it should be here on Tuesday. So book 5 will be here on Tuesday. So if you want a really interesting, kid-friendly, but fun for grown-ups as well, proof that comic books are more than just for kid or just superheroes, Hilo's a good book for you to pick up. Book 5, as I said, comes out on Tuesday. Barnes & Noble has a collection of the first 3 or 4 in a box set, or you can get the loose ones as well, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 will come out. So highly recommend it. And I want you to go out. There are a ton of graphic novels and stories out there that have nothing to do with superheroes, that are comic book related and for grown-ups and not for kids. And Bill Maher just needs to shut up right now. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Because I'm an hour in. I still haven't touched the surface of all the stuff I got to do. So let's just, as I said, let's just boom, 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 boom. Heinz Ketchup has created something new that's coming out for Valentine's Day, which sounds absolutely horrific. I love Heinz Ketchup. I love Heinz Ketchup more than Hunt's Ketchup. But creating Heinz Ketchup Caviar for Valentine's Day. Basically, it's little bubbles of ketchup that look like caviar that you can scoop out and put on your sandwiches or your salads or whatever. It looks like caviar, but it's really bubbles of tomato ketchup. Really? Really? Really, really? The state of Washington has, someone in the state of Washington has brought up legislation to cut the state in half and create a new 51st state, call it Liberty. So half of it would still be Washington State, the other half would be Liberty. I don't know the situation because I don't really follow what's going on in Washington State. To me, excuse me, Washington State seems to be a progressive state. They've okayed legalized marijuana. They seem to tend to be more in tune with the Democratic liberal side. And I don't know if that's just maybe the coastal people, and then the people out in the mountainous areas are more a conservative group. I don't really know that much about Washington State history. I love Washington State. I've been there before. I have friends who live out there. Actually, one of my good friends from college, Pat, lives out there, and I enjoy reading his stuff. He works for the University of Washington, so that's pretty cool. UW, as they call it. So, as I said, it's not my place to say because I don't live out in Washington, but I guess if there's a good reason to split your state in half, go for it, I guess. I don't know. It's similar to California wanting to exit the United States with that moron in chief right now, because California could be their own country based on their GDP and stuff like that. So the West Coast is, I get a little bit more, I guess, progressive and liberal than the East Coast here. So we'll see. Doggy daycares are a thing, and they've been around forever, so that's no one's new information. But this is kind of a new thing, not a local one, but I read somewhere that there's a doggy daycare somewhere in the United States that has got a liquor license, which means they can sell and drink liquor on the premises while they are taking care of the Doges. Uh, I'm I hope they drink responsibly, because taking care of Doges is as important as taking care of kids. Kids obviously a little bit more important, obviously, but Doges are, in some cases, it's a lot of people's kids, and they put their trust in these people to take care of their Doges and make sure that nothing bad happens to them. So hopefully this is just, recreational and nothing too bad. And I don't see how doggy daycare can be all that stressful. I mean, I guess it could be with dogs attacking each other and cleaning up their poop and stuff like that and playing with them. I don't know, but it just seems rather odd to have a liquor license in a doggy daycare. For those who've been watching this show a lot, and I keep, it's still prominent in the back of my head, but it's one of these things that I'm self-doubting myself, and I'm trying to figure things out, and I'm really nervous about this. I want to open my own coffee shop, and I've talked about this for many episodes, and I keep having good ideas and stuff. I mean, like during the shutdown, I would have allowed federal workers to get free coffee and stuff like that. And I'm always on the lookout for interesting stories about coffee and stuff like that. A friend of mine from high school, good friend of mine from high school, she and her family have opened a muffin bakery restaurant type of thing down in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. And she was the one who basically started it up. And I follow her on Facebook and her company on Facebook. And I've read their menu, and they've got all these crazy types of coffee and tea and stuff like that. It's like, that might be kind of cool. And also I might reach out to her and say, hey, can you ship us your muffins or give us your recipe or whatever so we can sell them here and give you the credit and stuff like that. I don't know. But I want to talk to her about opening up the business and see if she can answer any of my questions for me and how she did it and stuff like that. So that being said, there is a coffee shop that is setting a new pricing policy, which actually makes me go, this might actually be pretty good, because I want the place to be very opening for everybody, not just specific people or types or whatever, everybody. So this coffee shop's new pricing policy is to teach manners to rude customers. So, if you've ever been in a place like that, some people just come up and say, coffee, please, or just coffee, give me a coffee. I want a coffee, or give me a cappuccino or whatever. And they don't say please or thank you or whatever. So a coffee shop owner has decided that he wants to change the policy up a little bit to try to get more people to be friendly. So he has 3 tiers. He's got coffee, please, or not coffee, please. No, just one coffee or coffee. If you say you just want coffee or cappuccino or whatever, it's going to be like $5. If you say coffee, please, it'll be like $2. If you say, good morning, I'd like to have a coffee, please, it'd be $1.50. I think that's kind of cool, because that way you can get people to be nicer to the counter staff, but also, it might get people who are rude or in pissy moods or whatever to see, hey, I can save a little extra money. Why don't I just be nice and polite about it? So I think it's kind of neat. I thought it was a neat idea. I never read these books. I have no desire to read these books. I've heard how bad these books are, but they are pure smut. They're pure beach reading. And sometimes I wish I could write books that would just be beach or vacation or airplane readings that you can sell at any airplane airport, that people just grab something to read on in the flight to wherever they're going, or read on the beach or on a vacation or whatever, and then just toss aside. It doesn't have to be great literature. I sometimes wish I could just write that and make a lot of money, because James Patterson writes a book a month and makes a ton of money on that. Stephen King does sort of a similar thing. His type of books are the ones you just want to read on vacations and trips like that. Well, E.L. James, who wrote the 50 Shades of Grey series, is finally writing a new book that is, of course, more smut. So, hey, if you liked your 50 Shades of Grey smut, you got more coming your way. It's not going to be 50 Shades of Grey, but it's going to be a whole new idea and story and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if that can continue to be as popular. So this past Sunday, after I finished my show, I knew that the Los Angeles Rams had beaten the New Orleans Saints in a contested overtime game in the NFL to get the first spot in the Super Bowl. And then the New England Patriots were going to play the Kansas City Chiefs. And the winner of that one would win, going to the Super Bowl as well to play the Rams. Again, another hotly contested game that went to overtime in the end with the New England Patriots prevailing. I hate the New England Patriots. I hate Tom Brady. I'm not a big fan of. I mean, I'll be a fan of the Rams because I want them to win, but the way that they won against New Orleans is kind of, and I'll talk about that a little later too, is kind of a little hinky, stuff like that. So that's why I'm not that excited about the Super Bowl this year. But I bring that up because I hate Tom Brady. And again, if you've been watching this show, you know how much I hate Tom Brady. I talk about it all the time. Is it because he's successful? Yeah, maybe a little bit. But it's mostly due to the fact that, A, he's been found to be cheating in multiple times for his team. And also, he's a big baby. A good example is, and this example I always use about why I hate Tom Brady, is during a game against the Ravens. Now, this is the year that the Patriots were going to go 16-0 and actually went 18-0 till they went to the Super Bowl and then lost to the Giants. So they didn't have a perfect season. But they were on path to have the first perfect season since the Miami Dolphins did in 72. So sometime, I guess it would be early December, I guess. They were playing the Baltimore Ravens, my team, in a Sunday night game, Thursday night game, Monday night game, something like that. It was a night game, and it was a big game. It wasn't like some, Sunday afternoon game or something like that. It was either Sunday night or Monday night or Thursday. I couldn't remember what it was. Anyway, the Ravens sucked that year. That was Brian Billick's last year. I think they went 5-11 that year. And that was his last year, and they were awful. And we knew they were awful when it got to this point in December where there's only like 4 games left. It's like, okay, yeah, this team sucks. But to our surprise, when the Patriots came in to Baltimore to play this night game, obviously all the pundits were like, yeah, the Patriots are going to destroy them like 50-0 and stuff like that. Something interesting happened. Kyle Bowler, who was not a great quarterback, but was our quarterback at that time, had probably one of the best games of his career in that game. And he was tearing apart the Patriots defense, scoring touchdowns. And at one point, getting into like the third-ish quarter, I guess, we had a lead against this unstoppable monster of the Patriots, who have had multiple 50-plus scoring games during this long streak of them winning every game. So the Patriots were running scared a little bit. They didn't know what the heck was going on. They were being beaten by a horrible team on the road. And we were just surprised because the Ravens were playing so well. Here's where I hate Tom Brady. So Brady's got the ball. As I said, it's like the third quarter. Ravens are up. He's moving down the field a little bit. And one of our pass rushers, Bart Scott, on the defense, breaks through the line after Brady's had the ball hiked him. And he's trying to find someone to throw the ball to. He breaks the line, is making a beeline right for Brady, getting ready to sack him, which would be phenomenal. It would be great. I think it was like third down or something like that. It would have maybe pushed them out of field goal range, or they would have had a field goal. They'd still be behind, whatever. It was a bad spot for the Patriots. So Brady had to make a play, but here comes Bart Scott coming in his face. Brady finds somebody, flings it down the field. I think it was an incomplete pass, actually. So in the end, it would have worked out if this didn't happen. So Bart Scott, seeing that the ball had been released, pulled up. Because if you tackled the quarterback after he threw the ball, you're going to get flagged 15 yards for roughing the passer. So here's what happens. So he pulls up, and he sort of bops into Brady, but doesn't knock him over, and sort of has his hand clip Brady's helmet. Not too bad. Didn't knock him down. Didn't knock him out. It wasn't even like a bam. It was just a little clip on that, and he like sort of ran into Brady, and it was just sort of like a little boof, when you run into somebody like that. Brady, being the little bitch he is, said, pass interference, or roughing the passer. He hit me. He hit me in the head. He hit me right here. This needs to be, and he was screaming at the ref. You got to call this. He hit me. And the ref said, oh, okay, sure. 15-yard penalty for roughing the passer, which gave them a first down and put them even closer to getting a touchdown. The stadium erupted in boos because that was the most BS roughing the passer call I've ever seen. Bart Scott didn't make it any better, though, because he was just as pissed also because he knew he was trying not to rough the passer. He picked up the flag the ref had thrown on him and flung it, and that was an unsportsmanlike conduct, 15 more yards. So the Ravens lost 30 yards on this play, a potential fourth down turned to a first down, and it was like half this is the goal. Next thing, they pop right on in there. The Patriots score, and then they go on to win the game. It was the worst roughing the passer call I'd ever seen. And then this year, they had a similar one in the Kansas City Patriots game for the championship on this past Sunday. And it was a very similar scenario. And again, Brady, the little bitch, whined about roughing the passer, got his roughing the passer flag, and went down and scored. And luckily, the Chiefs were a better team than the Ravens were, and they were able to come back down the road and tie it up, and then they had to go to overtime, and they just lost it in overtime. But that's one of the main reasons why he's a little bitch. Also, he was married to an actress and got her pregnant, and then immediately left her for his supermodel wife, who is his supermodel wife now. So I just don't like that idea of you leaving your pregnant wife for a supermodel. While it might be the greatest, feeling, hey, there's a supermodel who's hot as hell who wants to fuck me, but now I got my wife pregnant. I don't know. And then he just leaves her. So there's a lot of things I don't like about him. His smirkiness, his cockiness. He's an asshole. So I have no desire to see that. So my whole point about this, again, this is why the show is going so long, is a fourth grader in Kentucky did a science fair project to try to prove that Tom Brady was a cheater. And he won the science fair for it. It was more along the lines of how he was caught cheating with the deflating of the ball. Now, he did serve time. He had a 4-game suspension, I think, like that, and stuff like that. But it could have been a whole lot worse, and it should have been a whole lot worse. But this kid sat down and he tested. He used scientific theory. He had 4 different footballs at various pressures, and he would throw, kick, pass, and did tests on them to see which was better. If it was a harder ball or if it was a lighter ball, and he proved that the deflated ball was easier to catch and hold on to than a solid, pumped up official football. Kid deserved to win first prize for that. My science fair in 7th grade, I won 2nd place for my my science fair project. Is the boiling point for water, different waters different. Like, so you had spring water, well water, tap water, rainwater, stuff like that. So we tested see when the boiling point was, what the temperature was, and got the temperature and tried to figure out 212 is boiling point for water, but is the well water that has more minerals in it, does it take longer to boil because of these minerals? Does the tap water or the spring water that has been, cleaned of everything and is perfectly like pure water, does that boil faster because there's not as many impurities in it? So that's what I did, and I got my 2nd prize for that. But the kid doing fourth grader for his Tom Brady cheater, awesome, and he won. He deserved to win for that. The first of many animal stories today. A moose wandered into a hospital building's lobby in a hospital building in Anchorage, Alaska, and chowed down on the plants in the lobby and then walked out. The staff didn't know what to do. There's a police officer who didn't know how to get him out. But there's video of this moose just walking into a hospital building and eating the fake plants inside the building and then walking out the door again. So that's kind of funny. Valentine's Day is coming up, February 14th, a couple weeks from now. 3 weeks technically, 2.5 if you want to really get serious about it. And one of the most popular things about Valentine's Day is those little conversation hearts, love you, hug me, do me, lick me, stuff like that. Those hearts that are crunchy candy. And I think I forget who does it, but they're the more popular ones. Sweetheart Company or whatever, they are saying we're not going to do them this year. I don't know the reasoning why. I didn't read that far. So people are freaking out. We're not going to have our conversation hearts for our loved ones and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, first and foremost, these candies are hard. And when you bite down on it kind of feels like it could break your teeth on it. And they're not very good. Once you bite into them, they're very chalky. I mean, they have flavoring and stuff like that. And I guess it's this thing. It's like, oh, I love you. Love me. Here's your heart and whatever. But Brock's is another candy company. They have sweetheart hearts as well. And they're like, hey, you can buy ours if you want. Now, from all the people who've talked, the Brock's ones are terrible. The writing is awful. The candy's worse than the sweetheart flavored ones. So a lot of people are like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. We really don't like yours. But for those who want your conversation hearts, you can get them. Brock's is going to have them out on their shelves. So everywhere. So go ahead and get your conversation hearts. So Valentine's Day is saved. Now, also on that part, because of that sweetheart thing, oh God, it's going to take me forever to find it. I might just go ahead and say it, and then when I get to it, I'll just check it off. Krispy Kreme's, the donut company, they are creating their own version of the sweetheart candy, but they're doing it as the sweetheart donut. So it's going to be heart-shaped donuts, different colors, icing on it with, the same thing, love me, do me, lick me, eat me, stuff like that on there. And you can get a dozen of them and you can give them to your loved ones, stuff like that. So if you want to, and they actually look pretty tasty. And I think Dunkin' does some heart-shaped ones also, and the heart-shaped ones are pretty tasty on that end. So we might look into that. We have a Krispy Kreme down the street from us, and we might go ahead and look into that. So I will see if I can. Oh, there it is, Krispy Kreme. There it is. So boom, I can check that one off. Arizona man who learned CPR from watching the TV show The Office with Steve Carell. Actually, he learned it by watching that show. He actually used it and saved a woman's life. So who says TV doesn't teach you how to do stuff? So that's good. It was great that a guy was able to see somebody in distress and knew how to do CPR because he watched it on TV. So fantastic. TV's not all bad. I'm going to do a couple studies because I have them highlighted here. Study shows that drinking tequila can actually help you lose weight. I guess the way it's distilled, what's in it, I guess if you drink it, it breaks down your fat, I suppose. Just don't put it in the tequila shooters I talked about last week with the scorpions in it. Another alcohol study, and this one actually, a friend of mine from work recommends this also. A study states that drinking whiskey can alleviate cold symptoms. So a friend of mine at work is like, when I told her, I was sick, or a friend of mine said she was sick as well, she walks by and says, get a thing of Mr. Maker or something like that. It's some sort of whiskey like that. You do a shot of that before you go to bed, you're going to be just fine. She says, I've had that happen to me before. I took that shot and I was out and I slept and I woke up. I was feeling a lot better. So, hey, there's a little bit of proof. That study, I know somebody who was not officially part of that study, but did her own study and realized, hey, this actually works pretty good. So awesome. So you can drink tequila to lose weight. You can drink wine. I talked about this last week, to live longer. And you can drink whiskey to fight off cold symptoms. A study also says people who watch Christmas movies all year long are smarter and happier. Again, as I said, I was able to work my way out from having to break down Christmas because it's going to take all day to break down Christmas, and I don't want to do it this weekend. So Christmas stuff is still going to be up for a while. And there have been studies that says, people who decorate their earlier are happier because you get Christmas lights and memories of Christmas and stuff like that makes you feel happier. But watching Christmas movies, I guess, all through the years make you smarter. I don't quite understand that. I can understand the happier aspect of it because all the stories are the same. It's about the holidays and people coming together and the lights and the carols and Christmas and presents, and everybody gets happy and things work out for everybody because Christmas is great. So on that, former Cub baseball player Ernie Banks, one of the best baseball players of all time, passed away at the age of 83 this week. We also had the Hall of Fame. Let's see if I can find the Hall of Fame list here. Again, I might just go ahead and yeah, here we go. Yep. Mariano Rivera, who was the closer for the New York Yankees, is the first player in baseball history. This includes Babe Ruth's and Hank Aaron's and stuff like that, to have a 100% unanimous vote to get to the Hall of Fame. Nobody, not even Cal Ripken Jr., got a unanimous vote. Mariano Rivera, the closer for the Yankees, is the first one to ever do that. He joins former Oriole, one of my favorite pitchers and an underrated pitcher. I have to agree with Jim Rome on that. Mike Messina, who went on to play for the Yankees after 10 years with the Orioles. Roy Halladay, who passed away in an airplane crash a few years ago, played for the Phillies and Blue Jays and ended his career with the the Tampa Bay Rays. And Edgar Martinez, a really good hitter, are your Hall of Fame class for 2019. Now, it's still a big deal going on right now because the big guys like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and Mark McGwire, who have all had huge careers, stuff like that, but they are under the onus that they were PED takers. So a lot of people are not voting for them because, hey, you cheated. Even though you have all these records and stuff like that, you cheated by taking these performance-enhancing drugs. So a lot of the voters are saying you're never going to get into the Hall of Fame, even though you have you should be a shoo-in any other time. So we'll see what happens. But congratulations to all of them. The most Russian headline in the world is right here. Pregnant Russian woman gives birth in forest while officers fend off bears. So I guess the storyline behind that is the woman went into labor and all of a sudden she couldn't make it to the hospital. So she was, I guess, near a forest or whatever, had to get out and was trying to give birth in the forest, but there were bears around, and there happened to be police officers who were in the area who were trying to fend off the bears so they wouldn't attack the mother giving birth to the baby. So just an interesting headline and something you don't see every day. Naked wedding dresses are the new trend, and these are a little unique. They are basically sheer wedding dresses with extra coverings in the breast area, the nether regions, and the butt area. But everything else, you can see the arms, the striking neckline, the sides of the body, the belly, the legs, and some of the curvature of the buttocks as well, even though the naughty bits are covered by some more mesh. But it's, I don't know how it would feel if Dawn came in front of all of our friends and family in a dress that basically showed off her amazing body. It's an amazing body, I'll give her that much. But I don't want everybody to see it. And yes, you're not showing off the naughty bits, but you get enough view like, oh, okay. You guys all right? Okay. Just making sure. So it's a new trend. I mean, I guess, if you're getting younger and you want to show off your body, hey, that's great. If you're not going to have a big wedding, okay, that's fine also. But it's a trend now, and I guess you feel happy about your body. That's great. It's just I don't know if it's an appropriate place to do it at a wedding. Maybe for the wedding night, that might be a different story. So I'm not sure. But if you want that stuff, go ahead, go for it. I don't care. Japan as always, is on the cusp of coming up with all the great new ideas and the ones you never even thought of before. And you're like, why didn't we think about this before? Well, they have now created also the human claw machine. Now, you know those things, those games you get where you put in your coins and there's like stuffed animals or all kinds of toys in this thing, and you have to maneuver the claw to find. So you find a a Pokemon you like, stuffed animal you like. You got to maneuver the claw, get over it, and then you lower it down, and then it goes onto the Pokemon you want, and then the claw, and then you close the claws, and you hope to God that when you pull it back up, that doesn't slide out the edges, or that it has a good hold of it and gets it and takes it and drops it in the prize bin. 99% of the time, you're not going to get anything. It's a sham. A lot of these games are just a way to keep plunking money in there. I mean, a lot of these places, they put like iPods and phones and video systems in there, and they know full well you ain't going to get it. So whatever. But now they have the human claw machine where basically, and this is such a great idea too, you get somebody in a harness and you hook them up to like a little rope type of thing that someone controls. So someone is on this thing, and they go up and they you control them over, and then you put them over a pit that's filled with snack items. So not toys and stuff. You could obviously try to do toys and stuff, but that would probably be a bad idea because humans can actually hold more things than mechanical claws. So instead, they decided to turn it into like a snack thing. So get a case of potato chips or candy bars or stuff like that and dump it into this pit. And then you bring the person over and they're hanging like, Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. And then they bring it down on top of the snack thing, and then they grab what they can with their hands, and then they get pulled up, dropped over, and then they drop off what they get, and they get to keep what they have. It's kind of a neat idea, and I'd like to see that make its way over here. I think it might be pretty cool. The Academy Awards were announced on Tuesday. The Academy Awards show, I think, is probably going to be either end of February or beginning of March. I don't remember. It's usually around that time, or maybe even end of March this year. I really don't know. Actually, let me see if I can get an official date for it. Which reminds me, I need to go get that Entertainment Weekly Academy. It was on February 24th, 25th. Okay, so it's at the end of February, last weekend of February. So that weekend, because the Academy Awards is on the 25th, which is a Sunday. The 24th, or maybe early on the 25th, I will do my annual Dylanknows Academy Award pick show. Now, to be fair, I haven't really seen a lot of the movies that they've been talking about, and I haven't really been reading up on them too much. That might change within the next couple months now, as I'm getting myself prepared for the next month, I should say, as I get myself prepared for this. It's one of my shows I like to do. It's only about an hour long, and I give you my my choices. And I've actually did really well last year. I don't remember. It was the first year I'd done really well in a couple of years, so it was good and be proud of myself. So I need to get an Academy Award issue of Entertainment Weekly. It came out this week because it has a double-sized stuff. They have detailed stories about all the nominees, and then they have a little scorecard in there so I can make my picks and stuff like that. But Black Panther, as expected, got a nomination for Best Picture, one of 10 Best Pictures. And then that's all the really big ones they got. They did not get Best Director, did not get Best Adapted Screenplay, did not get Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting. They didn't get any of those. Now, I am happy because remember when Black Panther came out last year, and MJ and I had this discussion about it, I said it would be a crime if the Academy did not nominate Black Panther for costumes, set design, sound, special effects, stuff like that. Black Panther got nominated for all that. So in that case, the Academy did the right thing. But the fact that they didn't nominate the director, Ryan Coogler, the adapted screenplay, Michael B. Jordan's performance as supporting actor, hell, even Boseman's performance as actor, kind of upsetting. And it's almost like, yeah, let's just give this to the people so they'll watch our show. I know that's not exactly how it works. I know the voters vote on it and they pick the top 10. But we don't know the rankings. We never know the rankings. We know who number one is because that's the winner of the Academy Award. But we don't know the rankings of the other ones. So Black Panther might have been the 10th one Could be the second one. Could have been the fifth one. You know, we don't know. It might not win. It probably won't win, to be honest. But because you don't have the director or screenplay or actors involved with it, if you just have a picture and then the technical stuff, you're not going to be winning that award, which is a shame. But it needs to win for costumes, set design, special effects, you know, stuff like that. It's got to win for at least some of those. So give it a little bit of love, particularly the costumes, which I talked about, how much I love the costumes and the set designs. It needs to win those two, at least. So we'll see. I'm probably going to be picking those because my personal bias might not win. But you know what? I don't care. I think they should win, and they deserve to win. Now, this film does deserve to win, and I think it will because it did win the Golden Globe, and it won a whole bunch of other slew of awards so far. Into the Spider-Verse was nominated for Best Picture. Animated picture, I should say. I think it's going to win. And actually, it might be fun to talk to MJ about that as well when we do our Man Day show. We'll talk football. I can talk to him about his take on all this stuff. So I think I'll do that. I think I'm gonna reach out to MJ and let's see. Man Day. It'll be technically Man Day 3 because we didn't do it last year. Talk about the Super Bowl. I'm just going to write this down real quick. Super Bowl. Into Spider-Verse, Black Panther, chances, and then other comic news. I might do 2 episodes because I like doing these shows with MJ, but it's going to be specific to comics and football, and I like to do these weekly. We'll see how this week comes. I mean, this is an amazing amount of stuff this week, so hopefully maybe I want to deal with that next week as well. Well, and this might be 3 hours now because I'm about a half hour away from hitting my 2-hour mark, and I'm still only on the first page, and I still got 2.5 more to go. So let's keep moving. So I think Spider-Verse is going to win for Best Picture and Animated Picture, and Avengers Endgame got nominated for Visual Effects, which is the only nomination it got. And I think, to be honest, is the only nomination it probably should have gotten because when you think about Best Picture, it's not the type of movie you'd think of for Best Picture. Now, Endgame might be a different story depending on the emotional aspects of it and what happens in it. Maybe that might be one to look into, so we'll find out. I'm going to keep moving and try to get moving a little bit quicker because I do, as I said, have a half hour for 2 hours. I still got a long way to go. So I'm going to try not to go off on so many tangents. A woman who, this is stupid people again. A woman decided that she wanted to change races. She's a white woman. And she wanted to be a black woman. So taking a page from the movie Soul Man, she finds these extreme tanning pills, takes an overdose of them, and turns her entire skin into a dark shade of black, brown type of thing. So she looks like a white woman, almost in blackface, but the skin is black, though. So it's not really blackface, so you can't say she's being racist because she wants to be a black woman. The main reason why she wants to be a black woman is because she wants to have black baby with her white husband. And she thinks that because she's changed her skin color, because of this self-tanning stuff, that she's going to be able to have a black baby with her husband. Now, only if the chemicals in the tanning solution make its way into the amniotic sac, that may be possible. Genetics ain't going to let that happen. Sorry. This is a weird story. A female police officer was killed at the residence of a friend of hers, another police officer's friend of hers, maybe even her partner, I don't know, when they were playing Russian roulette. Now, Russian roulette is one of these weird games. It's like, what the hell is the matter with people? I can understand it as a psychological torture, like they used in that movie in the 70s. I can't think of it right now. With De Niro and Christopher Walken. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, for those who don't know, Russian roulette basically is you have a gun with 1 bullet in it. So you have, usually it's a gun that has 6 chambers. So you put 1 bullet into 6 chambers, and then you cock it. And then first person takes the gun, pulls the trigger. If that bullet isn't in the slot, it'll just click, nothing like happens. You give the next person, click, next person, click, click. And then you start thinking, oh shit, okay. You're putting it to your temple. There's a bullet in there. If you pull the trigger and the bullet is in that thing, boom, in your head, out your head, you're dead. What the hell's wrong with people? This was a different version of Russian roulette. Instead, I think it was one bullet in a cartridge, an automatic pistol, I guess. And they were aiming at each other instead of their temples. They were aiming it at their stomachs and playing Russian roulette. Click, click. The coworker pointed at the woman, pulled the trigger, ended up shooting her and killing her. It's involuntary manslaughter, I think, because he wasn't trying to kill her. But why the hell would you be playing a game where the end result is you're going to die? The story makes no sense to me. It's not even in Florida. It's in St. Louis, of all places, for God's sakes. Worst week. Here's another worst week one. Not as bad as that. That's awful. This one. Oh, no, actually, this is something else. This is a double hot dog story. Oscar Mayer is presently searching for Weenie-mobile drivers to go coast to coast. So you'd be driving the famous Oscar Mayer Weenie-mobile, which is a long-ass hot dog car, which I don't think I'd even want to drive on the highway because it's so fucking long and you really can't see around your stuff. But they're looking for people to drive it coast to coast. You go to events and you park it and you talk to them and you give out. So you might go, you'll be able to go to Chicago and St. Louis and California and Arizona and Colorado and Detroit and Florida and Maryland and Washington and everywhere and North Carolina and go crazy. So, hey, that's cool. Do I have any other job ones that I have noticed here? Yeah, here's another one. So I'll just connect and then I'll finish with my other hot dog story. The Wizarding World of Harry Potter in Orlando, Florida, is actually looking for new witches and wizards now. So if you've always wanted to pretend to be a wizard and witch in Hogwarts, go on down, audition for the job of the wizard. One of the wizards is walking around that tourists will come up to and ask you questions about. It's basically, it's like you'd be if you were a Disney princess or you're wearing a goofy costume, they talk to you about Hogwarts and stuff like that because they want to they feel like they want to be ensconced in the world of Harry Potter. And so when you have these actors around here who do that stuff, they'll ask it and make it feel like that they belong in Hogwarts. I think the one stipulation you need to have a British accent. You need to sustain a British accent, I think, because let's face it, Hogwarts is the British wizarding school. There's an American one, but they don't have a special world for it at Disney. So, voila. And ending up on the other hot dog note, which is kind of the sad worst week story. SK Hot Dogs, which is a local hot dog group. SK Hot Dogs are in every grocery store here in Maryland. You might even get some in DC if you want, maybe even further, but Pennsylvania and stuff like that. But it's always been best known for the iconic wrappers that it came into. It was always the Orioles logo, and it was always the official hot dog of the Baltimore Orioles. So if you ever went to the stadium, Camden Yards, or 33rd Street when they were over there also, they only served SK Hot Dogs because it's local and everybody knows them. Are they the best hot dogs in the world? Not really, but you know what? It was local, and when you're at a ball game, you really don't care. You want to eat hot dogs and drink beer and eat pretzels and Cracker Jacks, and you're all good. They are no longer going to be making them. It was a Baltimore staple. SK has decided we're not going to be doing hot dogs anymore. They might even be shutting down their whole meat division. I don't know the whole story, but they're not doing hot dogs anymore. So the stadium will not be serving SK hot dogs anymore this year. Starting this year, it'll be a different type of hot dog. I'm sure they'll be able to find. There's a gazillion types of hot dogs. They may even be able to find a local one that they can use to take the place of SK. There's a whole bunch of local ones around here they could use totally, which is a shame because Baltimore's Camden Yards, not only is it one of the greatest stadiums in baseball history, and is considered whenever you do top 10 baseball stadiums in America, it's always usually number 1 or number 2, somewhere around there, because of the way it looks. It's an amazing stadium. And if you've never been to it, I highly recommend check out a ball game. It's well worth it. Even if you don't like baseball, it is a really nice atmosphere. It's so clean. You're used to seeing dirty, disgusting baseball stadiums, stickiness everywhere. The stadium is clean as a whistle. even with all the stadium of the people that show up in the games and go to the games, stuff like that. So that's good. And they've also been known to have some of the best food in the major leagues as well. So hopefully this loss of SK is not going to diminish that. I don't think it will. But still, the fact it's kind of sad that, a Baltimore staple has now gone away. MIT, and this is something that Snopes verified as being true. MIT offers students a pirate certification. So if you want to be certified as a true pirate, you can go to MIT, and along with your regular caseload, obviously, you can take the pirate certification classes as well. Basically, you're going to have to pass archery, pistol study, sailing, and fencing. So you have these 4 classes you're going to have to pass. And if you do, on top of all your other class assignments, stuff like that, they will give you an official certification on sheepskin that says, this hereby certifies that Dylan Lang is a pirate. And Matt Damon is one of the more famous ones. He actually took the certifications at MIT as a they invited him, after he did Good Will Hunting, they invited him to come in. He decided, hey, I'm going to take these courses. So he actually took the courses and has a certificate from MIT of him being a pirate. So Matt Damon is actually a pirate, which is kind of funny when you consider what he says in The Martian, where he calls himself a space pirate, which is really funny. So it is a real thing. So if you want to become a certified pirate, go to MIT. Of course, you're going to have to get into MIT in order to do it, and that's a little bit harder. You can't just walk in and say, hey, I want a certification. Matt Damon can, because he's Matt Damon. NASA has a new plan to recover the Mars rover Opportunity. Now, I've been talking about this for a while now. They've lost contact with Opportunity. It hasn't been beaming back anything ever since that massive dust storm hit them a couple months ago. They've lost contact with them, and I thought they were going to be giving up on it, because they kept saying, we're only going to try for like 30 days and then we're done. But they have a new idea now that they're going to try to get it to come back online. So to be continued, I guess. Russia wants to put billboards in space. More reason to hate Russia, along with China, because China wants to throw in an extra sun into the sky now. But it's not a real sun. It'd be like a light that would rotate around the Earth and would be shining about as bright as maybe the moon, maybe. But still, it'd be ridiculous. But now Russia wants to have billboards that circle the Earth, so that you look up in the night sky and it says, buy vodka. Yes, I know that's racist, but whatever. Magic Mike, the movie about the strippers with Channing Tatum, is going to become a Broadway musical. Why not? Everything else is becoming a Broadway musical, and hey, it's going to join the Full Monty now, where you can actually, if you want to go see naked men, there you go. Resident Evil is going to become a TV show on Netflix. Netflix has been going absolutely crazy with their TV series and their originals, that it's crazy that they have enough money to keep doing them in their original movies. So who knows? All right, so we're actually on page 2 now. So we've got 2.5 pages to go. So I'm going to just keep going, bum, 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 because we've got about 15 minutes before we hit the 2-hour mark. So it's going to be closer to probably 2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes. So here we go. Virgin Galactic teams up with Under Armour for suborbital spacesuits. Now, Virgin Galactic is the guys that are trying to get tourists to go into outer space, and they've had their first tests of their new ships, and it works out fine. So now they're teaming up with Under Armour to create spacesuits that are stylish when you're doing your suborbital tourist trip into outer space. I guess makes sense. Under Armour is a local company here in Maryland, and they are considered to be one of the best athletic wear companies in the world, basically. And why not? Valentine's Day again. Last week I talked about the bouquet of Reese's peanut butter stuff, and also what was the other bouquet of stuff? There was another bouquet of stuff. I can't remember what it is. But here's another one for you. For that loved one who loves salami, you can get them a bouquet of salami for Valentine's Day. Now, that can be kind of a hinky edge thing and kind of a kinky edge thing also. You can use the salami to actually eat, or you can use the salami to, so it might be good either way. Pass the salami. Of course, because of its huge box office and whatever, they've announced an Aquaman sequel becoming. More power to them. Maybe I'll check it out when it comes out on DVD, but yeah, no big deal. Doctor Strange is also getting a sequel, obviously, and they just scored the writer, see Robert Cargill, who wrote the original Doctor Strange, is going to be writing the sequel, and they got the same director to do it as well. So the same people who did the original Doctor Strange will be coming back for the sequel, which is brilliant. And I think the same thing's going to be happening with Aquaman. I think James Wan is coming back to direct Aquaman again. So again, if you like that type of thing, boom, you got it. Patton Oswalt, who turns 50 years old today, is very outspoken on Twitter about this administration, about other things as well. And being a celebrity, you're going to get particularly, you're going to get trolled weekly by pro, he who should not be named, fanatics and maggots and stuff like that. And one of these guys that was trolling him and was insulting him and stuff like that. Again, Patton is one of those guys that he's able to let it ride, and he'll interact with them until they get really vicious, and then he'll cut them off. But this guy, I guess, wasn't as bad as some of the other ones. Patton Oswalt discovered that this troll that was trolling him over this administration actually had a GoFundMe page, because the troll, was having medical issues and needed money for a life-saving operation or something like that. Patton Oswalt, being a good guy, showing there's no ill will to the stuff he's been saying, gave a lot of money to this GoFundMe and got a bunch of his other friends and fellow followers to give money to this guy. So this guy has been getting, his GoFundMe page is getting more and more filled up as time comes, thanks to Patton Oswalt. And to show that this guy is not a total troll, when he found out about this, he burst out into tears and was very happy that, this day and age, there can be discourses like this where they can have disagreements and arguments, stuff like that. But in the end, it's about people. So live and learn, I guess. So good on that. So happy birthday to you, Patton Oswalt, and congratulations on being a stand-up guy. And also congratulations to the troll who saw the light and said, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have been as aggressive as I was. And now we'll see what happens. Here's the first of many animal sex ones. So I'm going to do a couple of these animal sex ones. I've been covering these for a while now. And they just seem to be, as I said, it goes through waves. It seems like there's a lot that comes over a period of a few weeks. Then there's a period where they don't have any, and then more have been popping in. So I've been seeing a lot more of this animal sex stuff. And here's one of many that we're going to have. Two that are disgusting and one that's just kind of funny. A 20-year-old man who sexually assaulted a horse and ejaculated onto the horse's tail was arrested after breaking into a barn and doing that. So having sex with animals is just the weirdest, most strange thing to ever happen in recent history that I can think of. It doesn't make any sense to me why you would do something like that, and it gives me the willies. The other one was a Texas man was caught having sex with a cow. Again, kind of bizarre. What is wrong with people? Why are you having sex with animals? Type of thing. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And finally, this one is the funny story. It's on this page. Yeah, so it should be on this page. Yeah, here it is. This is a funny story because it isn't about humans having sex with animals. It's about animals having sex with animals. What do you call it? A film, one of those things, filming out in the, where you get these cameras out into the wild and you can follow the wild animals like in Africa and stuff like that. Well, one of these trail cameras, whatever you want to call them, caught 3 cheetahs having a threesome. Now, first of all, who would have thought that animals would have threesomes, let alone cheetahs? But that's not even the weird part. So you have three cheetahs going about their, they're animals. They're doing what they're doing. They're having a threesome. They're having sex with each other. That's fine. They're animals. They're the same species. They're not humans having sex with animals. They're cheetahs having sex with cheetahs, which is fine. And there just happens to be three of them having sex with each other. But the weird thing is, not only was that caught on video, but also on the video they realized that there were a group of giraffes watching them have sex. That's got to be one of the funniest stories. So, caught on film, three cheetahs having sex with each other while a group of giraffes watch. More proof that the animals are taking over the world again. Washes my brain out of that stupid people having sex with animals thing. Wow. Here's another funny story. I was talking about the Super Bowl earlier. Well, the Pro Bowl is today, actually. So the Pro Bowl is kind of a all-star game for football players, and it's a waste of time, to be honest. But they do a whole week thing where the people who are on the Pro Bowl, they go out, they unwind, they have fun, they do activities like that. Like Justin Tucker, who was our kicker for the Ravens, he kicked a 78-yard field goal at one of these practices, which is a world record, to be honest. But again, it was just practice, and he wasn't under pressure, and it was good weather, and it was just, he just had the leg for it, just put all of it in, and it made it. So a Jets player, now the Jets and the Patriots are in the same division. A Jets player who made it to the Pro Bowl, defensive end or something like that, strong, big guy, was joking around, and he saw the Patriots mascot. So the mascots, they do a lot of fun things as well. Mascots go and they have fun, and they play games with kids. And if you've never seen, some of the funniest things you've ever seen are when you have mascots going up against young kids in football games. And it's one of the funniest things in the world, because they have the mascots on one side and the young football players with their helmets and pads and stuff on the other, and they're playing a real game. And the one I remember most is the kids are getting ready to hike the football to the kid quarterback, and one of the mascots jumps over the line and tackles the kid before he even gets the ball. It is one of the funniest things you've ever seen. So mascots tackling young kids is hilarious. So this Jets defensive end Pro Bowl player, big, strong, tough guy, sees the Patriots mascot, and as a joke says, I'm going to tackle him because, hey, Jets and Patriots hate each other. So he runs up and he tackles the Patriots mascot, causing the dude inside, just a regular old guy, not a football player, who's just walking around trying to get paid, walking a big oversized head, as a mascot, to have to go to the ER because of an injury caused in jest by this Jets player. I think it's kind of funny. I talked about Pokemon earlier. The Royal College of Art has a new scholarship that was presented by the Pokemon Company. The company that created Pokemon has set up a new scholarship at the Royal College of Art in the UK. So if you want to get a scholarship to go to the Royal College of Art UK, you can get the money from the Pokemon Company. I think that's really cool and a good idea of them. I'm thinking of getting this for my wife for Valentine's Day. It's on Amazon. It's a heated sleeping bag for your feet. So basically, it's like a heating pad, but instead, you can put your feet inside. It opens up like a sleeping bag. You put your feet inside the heating pad, so you get the bottom of your feet heated and the top gets covered by this thing. I guess you can zip it up or whatever. And while you're at work, you can be in your sock feet or whatever underneath your desk. You can stick your cold feet into this heated sleeping bag thing to keep your feet warm during the winter. So I think I'm going to get that for Dawn. I'm going to take a look at that. And I think I'm going to get for her too, and this might be a little bit more personal, but as I said, she's a big Pokemon fan, so I want to kind of do like this whole big Pokemon thing. I'm going to put on the Pokemon Pikachu suit she got me for Valentine's Day and do kinky stuff. Well, besides that, but I want to get her a Pokemon bra, which I found, but I don't know her cup size, and I'm afraid to ask her because then she might be like, "Why?" I I, I know she. I've bought a bra for her before, and she gave me the size because I was using it for a prop actually for one of my shows, and I ended up getting one that I would use for the prop, and then she would get a free bra out of it. So I want to get, but it was like a size like a 34 or something like that. So I don't know what that goes into bus cup size. Maybe I can find a chart. I'll do that chart compares size with cup. So maybe I'll check that out. So if anyone can tell me, well, you can't tell me because you don't see my wife's breasts. Only I do. Anyway, so Chicken Pox Playdate. Again, great band name, and I was going to name the episode this week that, but then I just figured I spent that whole like 20 minutes talking about how January is the worst month of the year, worse than this is the worst week of the year, and why I figured I named the episode Worst Week. I was going to name it Chicken Pox Playdate. This is something I'd heard about before, and I think even South Park did an episode about it as a joke. Chicken pox are worse to contract when you get older. So you want to have chicken pox when you're younger, because once you get it, you're basically immune to it. Now, that's not exactly true because last year at this time, Dawn was suffering through shingles, which is a after effect of chicken pox in grown-ups. Not everybody's going to get shingles, but in some cases people do, and it's extraordinarily painful, and Dawn suffered through it for about 3 weeks. Last year, but she's doing fine now, obviously. But what they used to do before the vaccines came to vaccinate your kids for chicken pox, they would, if your kid had chicken pox or just beginning chicken pox, it would be a best time for parents to invite kids over so the kids would play with the kids with chicken pox. So they would contract chicken pox also because it's highly contagious. That way, as I said, once they got through the chicken pox era, they would be immune to it and they would not get it again. And as I said, it's worse when you're older because it's life-threatening if you get chicken pox when you're older. I lucked out and got it when I was in, I guess, middle school maybe. Maybe elementary school. I can't remember. But I don't remember having any chicken pox parties. And my sister got it too. So, when we were young, so we didn't have to worry about that. So I guess chicken pox parties are still a thing. Chicken pox play dates are still a thing. And I just thought I'd mention it because I thought it was interesting. Did this one already. So moving right along now. Golden Girls action figures are a thing. You can pick them up now. All the Golden Girls are in action figures. You can have them go up against your G.I. Joes or your superhero action figures and do whatever the heck you want with them. Make your own Golden Girls TV series if you want. Enjoy. One of my favorite movies is The Princess Diaries. Now, the sequel is not that good, even though it does introduce Chris Pine to the world. But I found the sequel to be not as good as the original. The original is fantastic. It's got Julie Andrews and Anne Hathaway in it. Well, they did a sequel, and then Anne Hathaway sort of got to the point where she was just known for those roles because they were both really popular, and she wanted to branch out as an actor into doing more adult type of roles. And gradually now she's growing up and she's done a lot more of those adult roles. So now she's coming back around 10, 15, 20 years after she did the original ones. And she's like, you know what? I kind of missed that role and I kind of want to do it again. So apparently there is a Princess Diaries 3 in the works right now. And Julie Andrews and Anne Hathaway are both on board for it. Only problem is Gary Marshall, who directed the first two, passed away last year. So he will not be available to direct it. Did Gary Marshall pass away? I know Penny Marshall passed away. Gary Marshall might not have passed away. Hold on. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's still alive. I don't think he is, though. Gary. Yeah, I don't think he's still alive. Yeah, died July 19th, 2016. So Gary Marshall died in 2016. Penny died last year. So that's what it was. So he's not around anymore. And I remember I probably talked about his death too, because he did do Pretty Woman, Overboard, Princess Diaries, which are all movies I like. So he's not around, so he won't be able to do the third one. So I guess they'll find somebody. And is Hector Elizondo still alive? I think he passed away also. Hector Elizondo. I think he passed away also. Oh, no, he's still alive. So maybe Hector Elizondo might be able to. He's old, but he might be able. Well, it's not that old. Hold on. 36, 36, 46, 56, 66, 76, 86, 96, 2006, 2016. He's 83 years old. So he's kind of old. But, so there's Julie Andrews, and everybody loves Julie Andrews also. So Hector Elizondo is still alive, so maybe he might be able to make an appearance as well, because he was in the first two as well. And then her friend, I know the actress, can't think of her name right now, but her friend is still alive also. So she'll probably appear too. I think her mom and her stepdad are still alive also, and they have a child. So you can figure out kind of where it's going to go. So I want to see it. I think it'd be fun to see a Return to the Princess Diaries, kind of a nice PG film with Anne Hathaway and Julie Andrews for kids. And maybe she's married now with probably not Chris Pine, but maybe she's got her own kingdom, and maybe she's going to do sort of a flip-flop where she's going to have to be the Julie Andrews role and teach up the next heir or something like that. I don't know. They've got other ideas. What am I? I'm not going to do that. The Twitter CEO says that Mark Zuckerberg, who created Facebook, once invited him over for dinner and killed and served him a goat. So killed the goat and served him the goat at the same time. Just seems like a weird story to say, but hey, it made my list this week. And since I'm running out of time, I'm just going to skip over it. So next, skip Kit Kat drumsticks, just in time for the summer. Drumsticks are those ice cream cones that have nuts and stuff on it, and all kinds of things that you can get that are wrapped up. You usually get them at ice cream trucks, and you can get them in the grocery store as well. But now there's Kit Kat ones that have, I think, a Kit Kat inside the drumstick. So as you're eating it, you'll get the drumstick, the Kit Kat center, which is cool because Kit Kats are awesome. Also, speaking of ice cream, Ben & Jerry's have created a series of ice creams called the Cores, and they have like caramel cores and other types of cores, chocolate cores, which are in their pints. The whole center of the pint is caramel or chocolate or whatever. So every time you scoop out the ice cream to eat it, you're going to get a little bit of caramel or chocolate or whatever the core is. Well, because of the popularity of cookie dough, they are now creating the cookie dough core. So if you love your cookie dough, you can scoop it all out and you can get your cookie dough in every bite. Emotional support alligator is a thing, and this is a lovely story because this alligator is adorable. An old elderly man who is depressed, he has a emotional support alligator who does not attack him, has never bitten anybody in his whole life, who likes to have hugs and is afraid of cats. And it is so adorable. And this alligator is this crocodile is so cute. Or is alligator, I'm sorry. Alligator is so cute. And he was raised as a baby with this human. And so that's why he's not like regular ones. And there's another one that he also has raised also. It's not an emotional support one. This one's the emotional support one, but he likes hugs and he's afraid of cats, and it's so adorable. Talk a little bit about food now. There is a new restaurant. I don't know exactly where it is, probably New York, but it's called the Nugget Spot. And basically it's tons of different flavored nuggets. They've got like Captain Crunch coated ones. They've got regular ones. They've got buffalo ones. They've got, sriracha ones. They've got Chinese flavored ones, but it's chicken nuggets. It's not boneless wings, which are basically the same thing, to be honest. And then this sauce, stuff like that. So it actually looks good. They have some really interesting flavors, multiple sauces, and they even have a vegan-style chicken nugget, which obviously isn't chicken, and a mozzarella nugget, which is a really good idea. Chicken nugget that has a mozzarella core in it, like a mozzarella nugget. Great idea. So it's basically, instead of it being mozzarella-coated fried mozzarella, it's fried chicken with mozzarella in the middle, which is really an interesting idea. Also, about New York style pizza, about Chicago style pizza. Well, there is a Colorado style pizza, and the crust is um, is is rolled. So the crust is in a rolled format and it's a little thicker than usual. That way you can slather all the cheese and toppings on you want when you cook it and cut it. The crust is so thick that it'll keep it in place and won't slide out. So that looks good. Next time I go out to Colorado, which is a possibility, we're going to be going out very soon, because my in-laws have family out there. My wife has a cousin out there, lives out there, and her aunt lives out there. And using some money from my wife's grandmother, who passed away a few years ago, that my mother-in-law, my aunt-in-law, are sharing. Obviously, they have enough money to bring people out to Colorado to visit them. So we might be going to Colorado sooner than later. So I might have to try some of that Colorado pizza. I think I talked about this story a few times ago, but I just thought I'd bring it up again. Witches in the Middle Ages stole penises and kept them as pets. I guess you could play with them and poke them with stuff and use them for, never mind, other things. Talked about how depressing January is. Well, this is going to add to the depression because, as I said, there's still 4 days left in January. Well, technically 5 if you count today, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The 31st is on Thursday. Coming in Tuesday night here on the East Coast, and it's already out in the Midwest right now, but the East Coast is going to get hit on Tuesday night into Wednesday with a polar vortex, which means the temperature is going to drop from the 40s to the 20s with lows in the teens and single digits for about 3 days. And then the temperature is going to go back up, and we're going to get into the 50s by next weekend. Time for February. So that's why February is better than January. So stay warm. It's going to be rough. There's supposed to be some snow and flash freezing involved with that. But the last time we had snow and flash freezing, nothing really came of it. So we'll see what happens. This was, I should have talked about this when we talked about nuggets and Colorado pizza, but I just want to keep going down the line and get moving because we're getting into 2.5 hour territory now. Burger King in time for Valentine's Day is creating the chocolate Whopper. This is a real thing. It's not a fake thing. It's a real thing. You're going to start with a circular disc of chocolate that you grill. You put it on a chocolate cake bun. Then you use raspberry syrup for the ketchup look of it. You use white chocolate rings for the onion rings. You use vanilla frosting for the mayo or the Big Mac or the Whopper sauce or whatever. You also do candied blood oranges for the tomatoes, which I didn't tell my wife about when I told her the story. And you make milk chocolate leaves for like the lettuce. And you put it all together and you eat it, and it is decadent. It looks like it would be way too sweet and probably make my stomach go, what the hell is this? But it is a thing that'll be coming to Burger King soon in time for Valentine's Day. David Tennant was voted as the favorite doctor of all the Doctor Who's, all of them, in a new poll. I really like Tennant's doctor. It was kind of iconic. But Matt Smith's was as well, and he is going to be making an appearance in the new Morbius Marvel movie with Jared Leto. After the success of Venom, Sony is going all in with the characters that they still own that they haven't given to Marvel. And one of them is Morbius, who is the living vampire, and Jared Leto is going to be playing that role. And apparently Matt Smith has now been hired to play a role in that movie as well. Don't know if he's going to be the bad guy or something else. But yeah, I like Tennant a lot as well as Doctor Who, and Matt Smith was pretty cool too. But I kind of like Tennant, and I like Eccleston, so we'll see. A little bit of sex story. Shameless Sex is breaking all the rules and is got a big fan base now. So basically what that's saying is that, having one night stands and just sex for the hell of it, sex with your ex and stuff like that, shameless sex, stuff like that, is not considered taboo anymore. It's actually considered to be no big deal, and actually big fans of it because, hey, you're having sex. It's no emotional attachment. You can just have fun with each other's bodies, and hey, perfectly in time for Valentine's Day. A couple weeks ago, I talked about female love sex robots that are out and about now. Well, guess what? There are also male ones coming out as well. So the women, you are not being left behind. Male love robots will be coming out soon. So hey, go crazy and have fun with your male sex robots. All right, got 1.5 pages to go, so let's keep rolling through this. This government shutdown ended this week. As I said, is only temporary. It'll probably be back up starting February 15th, which is a very disturbing thought because the government officials will only get their back pay, and not even everybody's going to get their back pay, but a lot of people are going to get their back pay, and they're going to get one paycheck, and they're going to be back out on the street again when they shut down the government again in February 15th. Just you watch, it's going to happen again. And all the people who were cheering about Trump caving and stuff like that, a little overzealous because this is going to happen again. And there's really, another reason why he did it was, as I said, to deflect from the arrest of Stone, be able to get the State of the Union so he can do that, and also Valentine's Day and Super Bowl. Well, during the shutdown, a 9-year-old boy wanted to help his family out, so he sold his art to help his parents during the shutdown. Granted, probably didn't make a lot of money, but the thought is what mainly counts for that. So good on him for doing that. I got a couple of Fortnite stories. One, Fortnite is being used by criminals to launder money. Apparently, you can buy in-game currency, that you can buy stuff in the game, and then what they do is they use people's stolen credit cards or money that they've stolen, and then what they do is they buy this stuff and then they sell it to somebody else. So laundering means it goes from their pocket to Fortnite's pocket to the person they're selling it to's pocket, so no one can see where the money comes from. So that's the bad side of Fortnite. The good side of Fortnite, because it is so popular right now, it is now it posts the highest one-year revenue of $2.4 billion of any game in history. So, it made $2.4 billion, the game did. That goes from downloads, buying it in GameStop shops, and then people who actually who play the game, buying the stuff online to get guns and clothing and next wave things and whatever you do use the money for Fortnite. Like Pokemon Go makes money because you have to buy egg incubators, and you can change your avatars, costumes if you want. You can buy Pokeballs and potions and incense, and there's a whole list of stuff you can buy. And the only way you can make money in the game without having to put any of your money aside is to put Pokemon in gyms to battle. And you have to hold that gym for a full day to get 50 coins. And you only get 50 coins. So even if you're in there for 5 days and then you get kicked out, you're only going to get 50 coins for that. So a lot of the stuff, you can't buy anything for 50 coins. You can buy stuff for 80 and 100, but you've got to have, and then the thing is, if you have multiple Pokemon in multiple gyms and they all get kicked out, you're only going to get 50 coins once, or you're going to get it spread out amongst your 3 or 4 gym Pokemon. So how they make money is you buy iTunes cards or whatever, and you use your iTunes cards to buy coins from the Pokemon shop that allows you to buy the stuff you need to play the game. I mean, you still get balls and potions and incubators, not so much incubators unless you're in a special event, stuff like that for free in the game, but you don't get many because you get 9 eggs and you want to incubate them and get them out fast, and you only get 1 infinity incubator, which means you have to walk either 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 7 kilometers, or 10 kilometers to hatch an egg, and that's a lot of walking, which is the whole point of the game. But still, if you get a super incubator, you can cut that down in half. But in order to get that, you have to buy it, stuff like that. So, so good on Fortnite for that. Did I mark the other one? Yes, I did. A Wisconsin man thought his wife damaged his action figures, so he retaliated by using an axe against their family car, their TV, and a laptop. Look, I collect action figures. I collect them actually Pops, but I collect Pops, and I have some action figures and comics. But if someone messes with my stuff, I'm not going to go crazy and grab an axe and destroy my computer or my car or my TV. That's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and shame on you for doing that. Some more food items. M&M shakes are a thing at Burger King. Burger King has all these really great different types of shakes. And M&M one is a new one now. Fried Oreos with ice cream are going to be available from Sonic now. And then there's also Oreo and Nutter Butter are going to be having fudge covered cookies coming out soon. So you're going to get the cookie covered in fudge. So you'll bite into it. You have the fudge coating and then the cookie inside. So that's always pretty good. So those are going to be out and about soon as well. So some good sweet stuff coming up. I don't think I have anything else on here, food related, that you can eat. If I do, well, I'll get to it. Is the Dude coming back? Jeff Bridges, one of his most iconic characters, the Dude from The Big Lebowski, was teased a upcoming project with the Dude because Jeff Bridges released a video of him as the Dude, talking as the Dude and talking about being the Dude and stuff like that out on social media, thinking that there's going to be a sequel or something else down the line. So we'll see what happens with that. What? Oh, Baby Shark. I don't know much about Baby Shark because my kids are past that age, but apparently it's one of the most annoying songs, Baby Shark, do, do, do type of thing. Well, they are going to be doing a Baby Shark TV show now. Why not? Kids' stuff is easy to make, and they'll watch it and love it. Some science for you. A theory put out recently. A lot of people know the story about how the moon was formed. Now, there's another story I didn't put on this list, so I'm going to add it too. The oldest rock on Earth was discovered on the moon. Now, how does that work? All right, well, I guess they brought it down from the moon, and they were testing it, and they discovered that it was discovered on the moon, but it was from Earth. The belief system is that when the universe was forming, when the Earth was forming, the Earth did not have a moon. And during this formative time where it was all kinds of craziness and weird stuff going on, a planet who happened to be in the same general vicinity as the Earth crashed into the Earth, breaking it apart. And a portion of the Earth turned into the moon, and this other planet was disintegrated and eaten by the Earth. And that was what they believe might have been the match that lit the spark to create life on Earth. So it created the moon, and then the remnants of this planet were sucked into the Earth and became part of the Earth's framework, I guess, makeup. And that is what could have caused the beginning of the spark. That's like whatever was on this planet helped jumpstart what was on this planet and created life. So it's a new theory that's out there now. It's pretty interesting. And that's why the oldest rock on Earth was discovered on the moon, because it was a part of the Earth when this planet collided with the Earth and created the moon. So it took a portion of the Earth and sent it to the moon. But the oldest rock that was on Earth was part of that rock that was formed the moon. So pretty interesting. Disney's new Star Wars ride, which opens this year, could very possibly be 28 minutes long. I don't know of any ride that's ever been 28 minutes long, but hey, it's a Star Wars ride. People will ride it regardless, but that line is going to be a pain in the ass to wait in, because basically you're waiting for half an hour in between runs. So, if you get there and there is like 50 people in front of you, and it can only sit 25, you're going to be there at least an hour. Whereas if it was more like every 10, 15 minutes, it might not be an hour wait. It might move it along quickly. So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's causing Disney to raise prices, which I talked about last week or a couple weeks ago. But hey, it's Star Wars. Everybody loves Star Wars. Medical students wrote a Dungeons and Dragons supplement on how to create and introduce your own diseases into your campaign. So if you want to have if you're the dungeon master and you want to have your team suffer from a disease or have one of the villains be rocked with this disease, these medical students have written supplements that you can add to your game, which will explain how various diseases can be formed and how you can use them in your campaign, stuff like that. So that's pretty kind of interesting as well. Getting back to the Super Bowl again, if the Rams and New England Super Bowl goes into overtime, just goes into overtime, it doesn't matter because someone's going to have to win eventually. But if it just gets to overtime, if at the end of regulation it's 28-28 or whatever, and it goes to overtime, Buffalo Wild Wings will offer everybody in America free wings on February 18th. Now they need to have that buffer, that 15-day window, so they can get all the nuggets in the system, or all the wings that they think they're going to sell to everybody and give them out for free, and determine how they're going to do it. So they need to have that framework. So if the game goes to overtime, doesn't matter who wins or loses, but the game itself goes overtime, Buffalo Wild Wings will give you free wings on February 18th. Yes, everybody, every person in the United States. DC Comics is another one I can probably talk to MJ about. DC layoffs. DC Comics has laid off 7 workers, mostly executives, in a restructuring by Warner Brothers. Always sucks when you have people getting laid off, but a lot of these people are creative people. Mark Chiarello's one that's been getting a lot of press lately because he was a guy that created Wednesday Comics, which was something that came out a few years ago, which was basically creating like a paper supplement of like a Sunday cartoon paper supplement where you get your newspaper, you have all the full color comic strips are in like a supplement of about 5 or 6 pages. Bless you. They did the same thing with Wednesday's Comics, where they released it on every Wednesday, and it was different. It was a Superman or an Adam Strange or a Batman story, and then it was only like the size of a comic strip, and then you had to go to the next week to get the story and to continue it. So let's talk about that. Speaking of comic books, Sandra Bullock, who has gotten famous again for her Bird Box role in Netflix's Bird Box movie, is signing on to another job on Netflix. She's going to produce and possibly star in Mark Millar's Reborn. Now, Mark Millar is a comic book writer who made a deal with Netflix to have all of his characters and comics be turned into movies, TV shows, animated shows, however he wants to do it. And then Netflix will help also offset the cost of releasing the comics through Image. Magic Order was the first series that had Millar and Netflix teaming up. That one's just about to finish up its 6-issue run. And they just also released their first one, Prodigy. Their second one, rather, Prodigy, which will be their second. I think their second issue just came out. It's a 6-issue miniseries, I think, as well. But Reborn is the series has been taken to series. Mark Millar's Reborn has been moved to series on Netflix, so they're going to create a series based on Reborn, which is actually a really good idea. It was a 6-issue miniseries that you could potentially create into a TV show. You just tell the basic storyline in the first season, and then you can go off on any tangent you want because it's a very interesting premise. The premise is, and I'm assuming Sandra Bullock, if she's going to star in it, she'll be the main character. But basically, the main premise is that when you die, you don't go to heaven or hell. You actually go to like a purgatory, which is like a J.R.R. Tolkien, Game of Thrones type of world, fantasy world with thousands and thousands of people and animals that talk and stuff like that. And that includes pets that have died also. And you can become whatever you want in this world. So the story follows this elderly woman who lost her husband years ago to cancer or something like that, and has lived by herself for a while and with her kids and stuff like that, and now has passed away. She comes back down to earth, or to this reborn world. Instead of going to heaven or hell, she comes to this world. She's dressed as a 20-year-old soldier. She's a female soldier. She's got a sword and armor and stuff like that. And she discovers this world where all these people are soldiers or young kids, whatever they wanted to be when they died. That's who they are in this purgatory. But it gets a little tangent, like people who die in this purgatory actually die for real and don't go to a heaven or hell, and it's not really like a gateway to heaven or hell, and you're not going to go there eventually. It's just kind of this weird, kind of bizarre thing. But she decides she wants to find her husband and hook up with him, and you're now living a new life now in this like alternate reality fantasy world. So she wants to hook up with her husband, go back to having some nasty sex, and seeing her husband that she's missed for years, and now they're both young. They can go back to like it was when they were younger. So she goes in search of her husband, but her husband's missing. They don't know, nobody knows where he is. She then stumbles upon her father, who's like this Lord Odin type style, and he brings out this news that you are the chosen one. You're going to be the one that's going to overthrow this evil power that's taken over this afterlife world. So it's her job to, defeat this overlord or whatever. Along the way, she discovers that her pet cat that she loved when she was younger is now this like beautiful white lion type thing that comes and talks to her and does stuff. And then some of the other animals that she didn't take as good of care of, like fish and birds, stuff like that, have turned into these evil demonic type creatures that are angry with her, trying to attack her and stuff like that. And then eventually she discovers her husband, spoiler, has met up with someone else and has fallen in love, and they're together now. So she's sort of on her own. So it's a weird kind of thing. But if you have Sandra Bullock doing that role, it's not necessarily has to be a 20-year-old to do it. She can be a middle-aged woman or whatever. It could be a lot of fun, and we'll see what happens. It was one of my more favorite Mark Millar series. He's very hit or miss for me, so we'll find out. A blood test can now detect Alzheimer's up to 16 years before the symptoms hit. So that's good for people who think they might have Alzheimer's. They take this blood test. Yes, you are going to have Alzheimer's. We can help try to stave it off or make it not be as bad. So that's a good way to do that. So good on that. The Lost Boys is going to have a TV series on the CW. So that's the vampire series with Kiefer Sutherland and the Coreys from the 1980s. So we'll see. Joel Schumacher was involved with that, I think. A husband and wife are accused of taking, what's the word? I don't know. I can't think of the word, but they Swisher Sweets, which it was a cigar brand. This husband and wife team are accused of stealing up to $4 million from Swisher Sweets. So interesting, I guess. I used to smoke Swisher Sweets out of college. It was okay. I don't know why. I got hooked on it doing a play, and I thought it was cool when I was out of school just to hang out on the porch with my mom and stepdad, who were smokers, and just sit there and talk while I smoked the cigar. And it was like a sweet tasting cigar. It wasn't like the actual real cigar type of thing. Mario Kart, the game, is going to be coming to smartphones in 2019. So you'll be able to play Mario Kart on your phone. Also, I think the Harry Potter Niantic type game is also going to be due out this year as well. So we'll learn more about that later on. Last weekend, we had the super blood wolf moon eclipse that most of America was able to see. Well, lots of pictures, lots of video taken of it. One of the videos and one of the pictures taken of it actually had an asteroid hitting the moon during the eclipse. So that's pretty interesting as well. Lego sets are a better what is that word, than gold. It's investment than gold. I don't quite understand that story. I guess if you have a Lego set that's old and you sell it on eBay, you can make more money off it than if you sold gold online or something, I guess. But I thought it was kind of an interesting headline. Iowa man won a $1 scratch off, but he said, you know what I want? I want a big old giant check from the lottery commission. So they said, okay, sure. So there's a picture of him holding up the big check for $1. I thought that was kind of a funny story. KFC, they brought you the logs that you threw on your fire would smell like chicken, their fried chicken. Well, they're at it again. They now have a candle that smells like their gravy. Yes, that's exactly what I want. I want to get a candle that smells like Kentucky Fried Chicken gravy. You can buy a $30 toy Dyson vacuum, because Dyson's one of the best vacuuming companies in the world, for your kids that actually works. So, if a kid wants to vacuum or wants a play vacuum, a toy vacuum to play with, buy them the $30 Dyson one and teach them how to vacuum for real using this vacuum. Instead of pretending, actually have them vacuum for real. Wish we had that when I was younger. mm. Oh yeah, a parents are mad or up in arms, I should say, after a man in their neighborhood installs an electric fence around his yard to keep kids from entering his yard. So you touch the fence, you're going to get a little electric shock. So parents are upset because, hey, my kids could, get a bad shock, but you kids need to get off my lawn. Now I know that sounds bad, but I don't like when young kids, disrespect my property and just walk on my land and property, trudge on my grass, dig holes in there, have their animals go to the bathroom on my lawn and don't clean up after themselves. I hate when that happens. I hate when strangers are on my property. I've had issues with that where people have actually taken my Christmas decorations down last year and took them down themselves and put them on my porch. And they were probably thinking, oh, we're doing it to help them. No, you walked to my property without my permission to take stuff that I wasn't ready to pick up yet and put it on and put it on my porch because you thought you were being helpful, or it's an embarrassment to have it out in March and April, which is dumb. As it said earlier in the show, if you have Christmas stuff up early, you're going to be happier. Morons. A woman who is famous for hiking and climbing mountains in her bikini, which is just dumb anyway, even though she is hot, freezes to death after a fall from a mountain in Timbuktu. So it's a sad story. She passed away. She froze to death after falling off of a mountain trail that she was on. There's videos of that she would, I guess, posted on YouTube and stuff like that, with her wearing a bikini and hiking in these like -30-degree temperatures, and she was just had her boots on and had her bikini on, so you could see her firm, nice body, and her bikini. And unfortunately, she passed away because she fell and froze to death. She didn't have the proper clothing on. Remember the Oregon Trail game when you were younger? Your party has died of dysentery, blah blah blah. It's an old school type of thing. I played it in elementary school and high school, I think. Well, you can actually have a handheld version of Oregon Trail video game now if you want to play it handheld for $10. So if you want to play the old school Oregon Trail game, go find it. You can play it all you want. And you can die of dysentery as many times as you want. Fried pickles with ranch Lay's potato chips are a thing, and they're back. And just sounds disgusting because I hate pickles. I like ranch, but I hate pickles. And fried pickles alone with a flavoring for a potato chip, not going to work. Saints season ticket holders are suing the NFL over the one call. There was a non-pass interference call that would have given the Saints, I guess, the lead in the championship game. They probably would have gone on to the Super Bowl if they would have called this pass interference call on them, but they didn't. Even after review, they didn't call it. So they lost the game because that was just, I don't entirely blame one call on losing a game. It's frustrating, I understand, because there have been times like that where the Ravens had calls that didn't go their way, that if they would have gone their way, they could have won more games, or they could have gotten the Super Bowl or championship, whatever. I get your feeling, New Orleans, but to sue the NFL over that missed call is ridiculous and dumb and is a waste of money and time. So what are they doing instead? And when the Super Bowl is on next week, they're going to be watching all the New Orleans TV stations that are going to be airing the Super Bowl are not going to be airing the Super Bowl live. They're going to be airing the 2010 Super Bowl where New Orleans beat the Colts. So I guess that's just poor sportsmanship, loser type thing, which is kind of embarrassing for New Orleans because I like New Orleans. I like the Saints, but got to give it up sometimes because you got screwed, yes, but other teams have gotten screwed just as bad as you. And yes, going to Super Bowls and championships, stuff like that. Yes, it happens. And you just got to suck it up sometimes. Florida man was arrested a couple weeks ago. I told you a story about how someone's self-storage facility got broken into and $1 million worth of comic books were stolen. Well, they caught the guy. He's a Florida guy. They caught him in the theft of the $1 million comics. I don't know if they recovered the comics. I'm pretty sure they probably did. So it's, I guess, kind of a happy ending. You got the guy who did it. I told you earlier that I collect Funko Pops. Well, Office Space is one of my favorite movies, and they're finally going to have Office Space Funko Pops are going to be coming out. I'm almost done. McDonald's employee was fired for putting his mixtape into Happy Meals. hey, any way to get your mixtape out to the public and put them in Happy Meals, go for it. A Sicilian town is selling homes for $1.14 to you. If you want to buy a Sicilian town, a house in Sicily, they will sell it to you for $1.14. So you will own the house for $1.14. What's the catch? The catch is you're going to have to renovate it. So you're going to be spending the money anyway to renovate the house. But if you think about it, that's not too bad, because if you only have to pay $1.14 and that's your mortgage, you're done. You own that house. You don't have to pay anything else. So you can use that money that you might have been putting aside to buy a house, or the loans you've gotten or whatever. You can use that to refurbish the house and turn it into the house that you want. And you will not have to pay a mortgage again. You just have to pay to get the house redone. That's actually not a bad idea. So good on that. Canada and Norway are at war with each other over who has the tallest moose statue. I wish all wars were like that. It's a war of words and stuff like that. And I think it's quite fascinating. To be continued, I guess. Ozzy Osbourne is going to be releasing a plush bat with a detachable head in advance of the anniversary of him biting the head off of a bat. For those who don't know the story, he was all coked up and stuff like that doing a concert, and people were throwing stuff up onto the stage, and he couldn't exactly tell what the item was. Someone took a live bat and threw it up on stage, and I don't know how the hell they get a live bat, but when you're up on stage and your eyes aren't adjusted with it, you see something on the ground, it looks like chicken or something, so he picks it up and bites it, thinking that it's just like chicken or food or something, not that it was a living bat. So that story's always been an interesting one, but he's actually now going to be releasing a plush bat you can have a detachable plush head on. A woman makes $40,000 as a professional cuddler. If you want to be cuddled, but not anything sexual, obviously, if you just want to be held or whatever in bed or whatever, but nothing sexual, this woman will do it, and you just have to pay her a fee, and she'll do it for, you'll work out the deals, stuff like that. She makes $40,000 for that. I think I make about $40,000 for my job. It would be a whole lot easier to do cuddling than, and that's with strangers still, but it's still, gotta watch out. The Dramathon race is that rewards you with a single malt scotch at the finish line. So if you want to get a single malt scotch, you have to run the Dramathon. Don't know how long it is, but I don't think you're going to want to drink it after your race if it is like a marathon type of thing. A J.R.R. Tolkien biopic will be released out this summer. I didn't know about that, but that's kind of interesting. And the last story for this week, I made it. It's over an hour and a half now, or 2 hours and a half. So we're getting close to like 2 hour, 45-minute range. Channing Tatum, who has been trying to get this Gambit movie off the ground for a better part of 2 or 3 years, and I always talk about it, and it's always seems like it's going to be snakebit. Well, after the last disaster where they had an idea that we're going to make it like a romantic comedy, we've got a director in place, script is coming, and he's back on board. They said, we're not going to do that anymore. So Channing Tatum said, you know what, I'm done. I'm just going to come over, I'm going to direct it. So hopefully that'll be what they needed to do. Because it is late, I'm going to skip Check Eye Day again this week. I skipped it last week because they didn't have last week's stuff there. I'll skip it this week because there was just too much going on this week. And I think I'm going to skip the anniversary stuff as well. So that's it for today, because this was a long-ass one. Thank you for hanging in there as long as you did. I said next week I'm going to try to do Man Day 3. I'll get in contact with MJ Khan, try to get him on board to say, hey, do you want to do our annual Man Day thing and talk some comic stuff? If not, I'll do my own Man Day thing, and I'll do another one of the things where I might be two episodes where I might detail after my sister-in-law's party on Groundhog Day. I might talk about that and what happened next week or this upcoming week. So we'll find out. Try to enjoy your January. I know you still got 4 days left, but try to enjoy it. It's still pretty warm out right now. The cold is going to hit for a while. Thanks for watching, and I'm out of here. Take care.